Late Night Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
God, I love Kirsty MacColl so much. I've been thinking, though, about obviously naming no names, right, this question, and I need your help with it. Naming no names. But obviously, recently there's been a lot of talk about family in the news, like family loyalty, how much you owe somebody that you're related to, how much you owe your parents, how much slack you should give them for their behaviour. How much loyalty you give to the person that you have chosen to spend your life with as opposed to the people you started your life with, all that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to mull some questions over with you, really, sort of questions about duty and remembering where you came from. And it seems for some people, at least, the people you share your DNA with should come before everybody else, regardless of what they've done. Family first, all that stuff. It's kind of DNA is the beginning and the end of the argument. But it's not, is it? Not really. Not for you, not for me, not for most people who've got a real family, you know, not one that's been made up by a 1950s television show. And by the way, those families didn't exist then, probably. So, family, let's have a little think about it and the definition of it and how it's changed, and not just how it's represented, because I know that, you know, there are more variations of the 2.4 children ideal being represented in the media and that these days, but how is it for you? Right, I went to a funeral last week of someone who, for one reason and another, didn't speak to their family for years and years, and yet that place was packed, right? There were people queuing out the door. And the reason for that was she'd rebuilt her family. She'd built an alternative. She'd surrounded herself with people that she chose to surround herself with, not just people that happened to be related to her. You know, unfortunately, towards the end of her life, the family started to sort of reconnect. But the family she built, I think the ties were stronger. And that's not sad, is it? It's actually brilliant. 0344 499 1000. I'd really love to get your stories on this one. I mean, maybe you subscribe to the whole family first thing. Maybe you've put yourself out to be able to stay close with yours. Maybe you've given things up so you can, you know, take care of someone who wasn't necessarily the best parent growing up, or whatever it might be. Or maybe you decided at some point in your life that actually the people that you were related to weren't the people that you needed around you if you're going to have a successful and happy life. So I'll leave that with you, and nice and loose as you like. 0344 499 1000. You can text me on 87222 and start your text with the word talk. A text will cost you 25p plus your standard network charge. And I know, right, that kind of is loosely pegged on something in the news, but I just think it's a universal story. There was a story in the paper today about a certain father who says, now it's time to look after daddy. Is it always the case? That's just because your parent is elderly and happens to have given you some of your DNA that you owe them. And maybe it's not a parent, maybe it's a sibling. 0344 499 1000. You can tweet at Talk Radio or at Flipping Kath. I'm Katherine Boyle, by the way. I'm normally here with Iain Lee. He's having a couple of days off. So I'm hoping you'll help me out with the next 3 hours. It'll be really good to hear from you. So we've got that. We've got twins, and how one dad has decided that it's only fair that he brings his twins up as separately as possible so they're not considered to be kind of a pair, the same person. He thinks it's more emotionally damaging to do that. We've also got this troubling story of, well, is it troubling? Maybe it's the democratisation of plastic surgery. Nah, it's troubling. People are buying lip fillers on Facebook and doing it themselves at home. Now, I've been watching a lot of Botched recently. It's a program about plastic surgeons, like the best plastic surgeons apparently in California, and how they kind of fix people's wonky boobs and big lips and, you know, misplaced inserts and things like on the bum, because people do all sorts to themselves in America. But the thing is, where they lead, we follow. And this big lip thing has been quite big for a number of years. I still remember when Ivy Tilsley did hers, and there was a big hoo-ha about those. But it's kind of, if you get a good one, a good lip job, you can't tell. But there are a lot of people walking around with mouths that look like they've, you know, done 5 rounds with Mike Tyson. 0344 499 1000. We are going to be talking about that as well. And the fact that girls primarily, although some blokes as well, are doing these things at home and coming out with these massive old lips. Why would you do that to yourself? 0344 499 1000. We've got Amy on the line. Hey, Amy.
Hi, are you okay?
Hey, yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for ringing. What you got?
Okay, so obviously for your subject online for the family.
Yeah.
A brilliant question. For me, family does come first. However, my family would be a prime example of that not being the case, which is kind of bizarre.
Right. So the ideal is that the family comes first, but the reality sometimes interferes.
Yeah, so similar to you, there were people at, you know, my grandparents' funeral, which are family in terms of being aunties, uncles, cousins, people that I've not even seen since they were born.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, them for me. There were people that had got married and had children that, you know, people say, like, I had second cousins there that I'd never met. I didn't know what these people were doing for a living. I didn't know where they were living. And they didn't know anything about that with me either. And it was really sad that that reunion had to be at a funeral.
Yeah.
So the only family for me that I really have is my family at home, which is my mum and dad and my siblings. And I would do anything for them, like anything. And I know that they would do the same for me. But I also would have done the same for the extended family. I'd have done anything for my aunties, uncles and cousins. But for them to not know when my birthday is, or know where I live, or and not to have that communication, I think is really, really sad. So the element of doing anything and being loyal to your family isn't what everyone thinks or expects.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking it then that whatever happened to make your family kind of go off into the four winds happened in the generation before you. It was nothing to do with you.
I mean, it wasn't even that anything happened. People just seemed to just have moved on. They moved further up the country or grew up, I guess. And, when you get married and then you have your own children and stuff, then, your family, you have a new family of your own.
Yeah.
And I guess everyone just went their separate ways, and that family loyalty, like you say, just obviously wasn't there for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe their idea of loyalty wasn't the same thing. The fact that they turned up for the funeral, maybe they felt like that's them doing their bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, my family at home is really all I've ever known. And I've got family, like you were saying, for your family member, she's created her own, through friends. I've sort of done the same thing for myself. I've got aunties that aren't blood related, but would do anything for me, and I do anything for them, so therefore that's my family.
Yeah.
I think family, loyalty, and having that understanding is so mixed.
When you got back together at this funeral, was it weird? Did you feel part of something bigger, or did you realise that you were just kind of a number of different families who had these people in common?
I mean, I couldn't believe how many of us there were. And it was lovely to meet people that, you'd hear of names during conversation, but I'd never seen their face.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really bizarre catch-up, for me, at 26 years of, what have I done with my life, and having that conversation with those people. And then at the end of it, saying goodbye and knowing actually this is probably not going to see you again, so...
Yeah, till the next one. That was the thing we were saying at and it's not that I've, the whatever happened with our family that made, the sort of fragmenting happened the generation before mine, and the kids were never supposed to be brought into it. But of course, inevitably, when the parents are involved, you just don't get put in the same. You just don't go to the same places anymore, and so the risk is that the cousins kind of grow apart, even though we hadn't fallen out or anything like that. And I just remember being asked questions about, can you tell us a funny story about this person? And I just thought, I haven't seen him enough to have a funny story. I've got a few memories, but nothing. I haven't got enough memories to be able to pick and choose something brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And I felt that was really sad.
It is really sad. So, like I say, my family at home, I'll do absolutely anything for them. And one day, should I have a family of my own, I'd like to continue that.
Yeah.
And I'm one of 4 kids. And
you want 4?
No, I'm one of 4.
Oh, right.
No, I definitely don't want 4.
I used to want a big family, then I had 1, and I thought maybe 2's enough.
No, I'm one of 4, and so between me and my siblings, we've sort of made the pact that we won't let our children and our family generation be what we've experienced. Mm-hmm. And we will try and keep that loyalty. So hopefully that will work.
But it depends what people do, innit? People are individuals, people's behaviour and stuff.
Yeah, it does. But I don't know.
It's a good intention. I think it's a really good intention.
Absolutely.
Thanks for ringing, Amy. It was nice to hear from you.
Oh, you too.
0344 499 1000. Alan Caddick.
Hi, Kath.
What's going on with you today, Alan?
Well, first question, where's the governor?
He's having a couple of days off. He said he was going to yesterday, and I think it's probably, have a bit of a relax, chill out.
Yeah. I mean, and no Sam on the phone tonight.
Sam is pressing the buttons today.
So who's answering the phones?
David.
Oh, David. I wonder if he's a Wolves fan. I don't know what happened between Wolves and Liverpool tonight.
Well, why don't you Google it?
I'm outside at the moment. I'm nowhere near a computer and I'm on a landline.
Well, I'm on the radio at the moment and I'm not interested, so both of us...
Well, that's why you got the boys here, because they're supposed to be that kind of information.
Well, how very sexist, Alan Caddick. What an assumption.
Well, my radio brain's been turned back 30 years.
Have you got anything else other than basically asking me to Google something for you?
What other topics have we got tonight?
Family, whether family should always come first, even if they're a pain in the backside.
Yeah, well, my family was unbelievable. Because at the moment, my mum's not been too well.
No.
She's got an oxygen mask on because she's got like COPD.
Oh, blimey, that's awful.
And also, and with her starting dialysis soon.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that's something, isn't it? That's a bit of hope that things will change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you all right, though, Alan?
Yeah, I'm still doing the papers, and I feel like I've got the whole world in my shoulders because I've got the papers, I'm looking after my mum, looking after my dad, especially if I ain't got any time to myself.
Here's a thing I'm learning, and I forget about it every now and again, but I've just remembered it, and I'm trying to do it again from now on. Find a little bit of joy every day. Do something that just suits you. It doesn't have to. It's not selfish to do something just for 5-10 minutes that just suits you. Choose what you fancy, Alan Caddick. I don't necessarily want to hear about it, but, just do something to treat yourself.
Well, I've got something planned in April because I've got my holiday all paid for.
Oh, yeah, where are you going?
Aintree.
On holiday?
Going to the Grand National.
Beautiful.
Good luck, I say. And the night before, I shall be ringing up live from Liverpool.
Can't wait for that. I will mark it in my calendar.
And also, have we got any more news on the Birmingham Rabbit Hole tickets?
The Birmingham Rabbit Hole tickets? Probably. Again, I'll have to Google it, but yeah, I'll work it out for you.
Cheers, Kath.
Bye, Alan. Hello, John.
Hello, Catherine. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. By the way, 0344 499 1000 if you want to give me a ring. Thanks for calling, John. What you got?
No problem. I'm just ringing about the subject that you've been on about for the first.
Yeah.
There. I think that, everybody in life, that you kind of go through a stage and then you move on to a different stage and move on to a different one. And you leave people by the wayside on the way throughout your life, not necessarily because you dislike them or anything like that. It's just you move on and you have a different circle of friends and different people who are more important to you in terms of relationships. I wouldn't feel guilt about leaving people sort of behind or anything like that. You grow out of each other in certain ways. With some people,
yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same, Catherine, but some of my best friends at school, I've never seen since I was at school. There's one which is an exception. It's my first serious girlfriend, and I was her first serious boyfriend. So I'm in contact with her, but there must be hundreds and hundreds of people who I was very close to.
Yeah.
But you move on, and you have your life, they have their lives, and they go a different way. And it's sad when you hear about the death in the family, or not in the family necessarily, but the death of somebody who was once your close friend. But you think, well, yeah, but that belongs in its right place at the past.
Yeah, I think as long as you've not got unresolved stuff, there are some people. I had a friend who I fell out with for a few years, and thankfully we're friends again. And it was a nagging sadness for the years when we weren't talking, because I'm not the sort of person who cuts people off. And that's kind of the first and hopefully the last time that'll ever happen. It probably did us good in the long run, but I knew that we needed to sort it out, and I would have been heartbroken if anything would have happened to her.
I think it's one of those things, Catherine. I don't recollect ever cutting somebody off. I think it was just kind of drifting apart, drifting away. Does that make any kind of sense to you?
I know exactly what you mean. Do you think, I was going to say, do you think that's applicable to family members as well?
I think so, because I was always of the sort of thought that when it comes to a certain age, you're ready to fly the nest, to use a trite term. But when I got to that age, which was probably starting uni, the ties with family had become less. They weren't the most important people in your life at that point in time.
Yeah.
Still very, very important, but they weren't the be-all and end-all, because you had other friends and later on partners, that type of thing. And they are the here and now rather than sort of the way it used to be.
Is that the way you look at family then, that they're part of your past?
Well, both of my parents are dead.
Right, so for sure they are, yeah. But at the time...
You have much choice in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're no longer sort of like oh, I must go home and see Mum, I must go home and see Dad. What you think at that point in time is, oh, I promised Keith or I promised Catherine they'd sort of have meet them. And then a couple of years later, once you've graduated and you go to work, you've got a new set of friends, and then a new set of friends, and then a partner, or that type of thing, or children, and they become more important.
I get it.
I think it's a continual journey, isn't it?
I think so. You know, sort of you've got people around you at certain points in your life. By coincidence, sometimes you're just at the same place. You have to be at the same place at the same time. You know, for example, at school.
It's the here and now rather than sort of always reminiscing about the past.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can look back and think of great times I've had with different people, but that is in the past.
So
what here and now is probably more important to me than what was there 20 years ago or thereabouts.
Yeah, apart from that first girlfriend, it would seem, John. That's an interesting story I'd like to hear.
Julian, yeah. She wouldn't want me to relate that subject.
But obviously she's still an important part of your life. That's really special.
She's a great mate. We went out together, first serious boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And it's a horrible story, Catherine, because I've dumped her twice, bless her. I love her a bit. And she sort of has become, over the years, she still is, from way back when, a great friend, a great mate, and we can talk about anything and everything.
Well, that's really important.
My partner fully accepts that.
Oh, hang on. So your partner doesn't mind?
No, she absolutely loves Jill because she knows that there's nothing that way anymore between us. But having said that, great friends. But she's the one that, because it's been consistency, that she's always been in my life since we were both 17 at that point in time.
Yeah.
We're considerably older than that now. But yeah, it's one of those things, we haven't lost touch as such. And it's something where she is contemporary at this point in time. She's not part of the past.
Right.
She's part of the here and now. Does that kind of make any sense to you, Catherine?
It does. Thank you so much for sharing that, John. It's really interesting. 0344 499 1000. That's the thing I love about this job, your stories, so keep them coming. 0344 499 1000. I'm Katherine Boyle, and you're listening to Talk Radio.
Late Night Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Spot the obvious mistake. It's Katherine Boyle in for Iain Lee, and the format is kind of the same. 03444, maybe with fewer French kisses, if you know what I mean. 03444 499 1000. We're talking about families and your definition of family, and whether family always should come first, whether actually everyone else and everything else comes secondary to keeping those ties, those family ties, strong. I mean, there's an obvious tie-in with something that's been going on in the newspapers, but and demands from family members that you pay attention to them above everyone else and that you stay loyal to them despite what may have or may not have gone on in your family history. 0344 499 1000. Just this idea that, someone being related to you should demand a certain level of respect and loyalty, full stop. That's the beginning and the end of the argument. Or whether you're the sort of person who has decided that actually for your own sanity, for your own well-being, for your own happiness, and sometimes for your own safety, you've had to cut those ties and realise that maybe family, if you get a good one, it's completely by accident. 0344 499 1000. We're going to talk to Cleo in just a second about that one, but I also wanted to share this with you. Twins. This dad has sparked a debate. This is in The Sun, after admitting that he deliberately separates his twins so they can form individual identities. Now, I'm the daughter of a twin, and we've got twins every generation of our family. They're non-identical twins, so I think it's probably a slightly different experience from looking exactly like your brother or sister. Do you know what I mean? And being confused for them, and it being assumed that somehow you're exactly the same. These twins, one of them's a boy and a girl, for example, but my mum and her sister didn't really look like each other. And they weren't dressed the same. They didn't have to go through that whole thing. But this guy says, he's called Sean Steps, he's from Sydney, and he says he's keen for his son and daughter to develop individual identities and relationships. But many parents have argued it would cause his children separation anxiety in doing so. Writing for Kids Spot, Sean hit back at his haters. You're not doing your best by your twins by separating them. That was the comment I received, he says, on Instagram just a few short minutes after I uploaded a post celebrating our decision to separate our children once a week. Once a week? It's not like he's keeping them in different rooms and raising them, you know, like a science experiment. I was shocked, embarrassed and a bit angry, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. We first decided to separate our boy-girl twins a few months before their actual birth. We'd spent a great deal of time interviewing adult twins during that pregnancy, and one of the most common frustrations we heard was that twins are often lumped together. Most twins reported that they very rarely got individual time or experiences. I would suggest that this is the same experience if you've got a sibling who is of a similar age, you know, sort of 2-3 years separation. Sometimes my sister's boys are about 9 months apart, and so they were both babies, but both needed their mum just as much. That, and we selfishly wanted to ease the intensity of raising two tiny humans by giving ourselves a chance to parent just one child at a time, if only for a few hours. I think this is really healthy. Because guess what? Parenting decisions can be made for your best interest too. But then 2 years flew by, and we woke up one morning realising that we had never followed through on our brilliant plan. Damn. Our adorable boy-girl twins had quite literally never spent time apart, and maybe, just maybe, if they hadn't been showing signs of needing a break from each other, we would never have considered giving them that alone time, but they were showing signs of needing a break. My daughter was hitting more and more. My son was stealing toys. They were both competing for daddy time by throwing tantrums, and they disagreed on just about everything from dinner to movies to music. I haven't got a problem with this at all, have you? I mean, whether they're twins or what, I think I don't spend enough time individually with my kids, and they really do appreciate it. I've got two girls, and they're sort of 3 years apart, and they both want time as an individual where they're not having to kind of compete with each other. Not even that they're massively competitive, but, you know, just not having to wait for their turn to speak. They appreciate a bit of one-on-one. This guy says, sure, it's a big part of the sibling experience to fight and compete for attention, but who said it wasn't part of the parenting experience to give them a break every now and then? We decided to trust our parenting instincts and give it a go. And he just talks about having taken his daughter out by themselves and like going and buying Christmas pyjamas and going to see Father Christmas and all these things. I think it's brilliant. And then she knows it's her brother's turn the next time. I think it's great. The rare times I've managed to do that with my kids, they've really appreciated it. And both of them have kind of remarked on how nice it is just to be on our own. Not that they dislike each other most of the time, but they do appreciate it. Nothing wrong with that, is there? 0344 499 1000. Cleo, you're on. Hang on, no, you're not. Me all confident there. Hang on, let's put you in there.
Testing.
There you are. You are very testing.
Testing, 1, 2, yes.
What do you want to say, Cleo?
Even.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years ago on Monday, we created My Little Mum. My Little Mum was, her bodily parts were all incinerated.
Yeah.
But she still lives on.
Was it 2 years? I remember when it happened. It seems...
Yeah, man.
God.
And since then, the families... I think a lot of families like this, when it comes to, like, their shit hitting the fan, people drop things like a hat and a there, and it's all hands-on. But I think it's like it's like a group of mates as well. There's always, like, a sort of drift. So they're not really a collective unit, if you know what I mean. So I don't really hope... The notion of our family as a block is a bit like friendships. You sort of drift in and out.
Yeah. I wonder if that idea of the family, the extended family, all the cousins growing up together or knowing each other at least, you know, until they're grown up, exists anymore.
People for hundreds of years lived in the same village, basically.
Yeah, you couldn't get away from each other, so you had to get on.
It's an evolution, yeah, totally. But when my mum died, up until then, if you remember, I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
A few years before, and up until, like, her death, none of my family came to visit us. So basically, my mates were me family, really. Because they were just getting on with stuff. And I've always been Mr. Independent, so just thought, I'd be all right, just leave him. It's the very northern male, just leave him over, I'd be all right. Mm-hmm. They really checked in us. But since she did die, my brother's here every day, twice a day.
You're kidding me? So you see him more now? What, to check...
My mum's death for that.
To check in on you, or...?
check in on me and the dog, because he without him I wouldn't have had my silly little dog as well.
Oh yeah, that dog.
Yeah. So at the moment, my dog's my family, my mates are my family, and my brother. The rest really don't. And we are close knit. We're literally 5-10 minutes away from each other by walking distance. But we're very weird. But we'll love playing in the family when there's a funeral or a wedding or whatever, any sort of celebration. But we're never really in between those celebrations. We rarely see each other.
No, but I wonder whether that's pretty common. I live around the corner from my parents, and my dad's been retired for about 5 months now, and I probably see him. I see him a little bit more now, but only because we've become gym buddies.
Yeah.
But that was kind of I realised I had to make an effort because, he's got his life. I've got mine. I've got to be in certain places for the kids and organise stuff, life stuff. And just being around the corner doesn't necessarily mean that you coincide, does it? You've got to make an effort. And I think unless something happens to shake you out of the sleepwalk that everyone's in, you go through your weeks and head for the weekend. Before you know it, the weekend's over and then you've got to start the week again. And I think unless something happens and makes you realise that this isn't going to be it forever, you don't make time for each other. And it's not about not loving each other.
Yeah. It's a strange little thing, because it plays on you, especially when you live on your own, it plays on your brain a lot. But then obviously when something bad does happen, there is like an immediate...
They're all there, because it's like someone blows a whistle and everyone knows what they're supposed to do.
I think it's guilt.
Do you think it's guilt, or do you think it's just, right, this is what families do, I know this one?
I think in the modern life it is, but I remember stories. I always wished to live like when my mum was young, because her families back then were literally 10 in a bed. You know what I mean? It was like there was loads of them, and they were all crammed together, and they lived on top of each other. So that sort of, I think we grew up with this sort of like notion of, back in the day, families were this, that, and the other, and really...
they were still driving each other nuts, they just couldn't get away from each other.
Totally. But there's a curious thing. When she pegged it was on the... I shouldn't say pegged it, but it's just the way we talk. Mm-hmm. When she died, was on the day before New Year's Eve, and... she was in the very next unit, like the next bed, to where I was 3 years earlier when I pegged it.
Blimey!
So, but it was quite surreal, because she'd been ill for years. Every winter she took ill really bad. But it was surreal because in there I was recognising nurses, and I had nurses hugging us and kissing us. Oh, hey! I was like, it was a weird experience, because I was obviously distraught, because my mum was on her way out. Mm-hmm. But I'd met these people who 3 years before had saved us. Yeah. Wiped me backside. You was inside out and put up with me nonsense, and squatted on me bed to watch TV programmes on me telly and stuff.
Yeah, these are people who'd read your washing instructions.
And it was so surreal, because once I explained why I was there. Yeah. It was like, so they treat her beautifully and stuff, and the whole family was there. The people, like a lot of people, she was like, I want to die peacefully without anybody there in my sleep. No fuss, no bother. But everybody turned out. The whole room was packed.
Of course they did.
And it was...
They're kind of doing it for each other, aren't they, more than for the person?
Yeah. And it was lovely. It wasn't... I didn't shed a tear.
Really?
Part of it is because me, in the family, I'm the gobshite. I'm the one who makes everybody laugh and stuff. So part of it was like, right, I must entertain people.
Yeah, but at the same time, Cleo, this is what happens afterwards, isn't it? That suddenly you're left alone and the entertainment thing is out of the way and you've got to deal with stuff. You can't outrun it.
Exactly. So last year, like the year afterwards, so last year, not this year, bad. Yeah. That was really bad. That's what I dropped calls for this. I stopped ringing in.
Yeah.
But listening to this stuff all that time, I don't like ringing in to blow smoke up your asses, because I know you get enough of that. And
I've stopped smoking.
Yeah. But it's just listening to other people's experiences.
Yeah.
and being honest and open it's got us through. And having the dog, oddly enough.
Isn't it funny about sometimes in your life you have to stop doing things that you really loved before because it's too painful. I'm going to say it, painful. There was a period in my life when there was a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. Private stuff, and, my mother-in-law was dying of cancer, and it was just too much. And if I was left alone with my thoughts, maybe it is a northern thing, but also probably it's just a me thing, is that I try and be that person who helps everyone else out, and I try and see that everyone else has got it worse than me, and I'll be fine. That is something I say to myself a lot. Yeah. And sometimes I need to stop that and appreciate that what I'm going through is something I'm going to have to go through, and it's not going to be fine for a while, and that's all right. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to worry anyone. But I remember
balancing whether you want to be stoic all the time or.
And you don't want people to ask you how you are because you're frightened you'll tell them. That's another thing that I was going through. And I remember for that time, and it was probably about 6 months, I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't listen to it because every song was like pressing that button that was going to release everything.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say I'm through that now, but it's a strange sensation.
There's still certain things, just people mentioning certain things will crop up and I'll be, oh Christ, that'll set us off. But I've been technically 9 months as of Tuesday coming, free of proper full-on depression.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I'm feeling a lot better.
And how have you been managing it?
I've dropped the meds. It's basically, it's having the dog. It sounds really cheesy.
No, whatever works.
And everyone goes, oh, the record center, but it is because he's mental. So it's not a distraction from anything else. And I often think, oh, my mother would have eaten him up. And it's just weird little things. So this little bastard gets us to it. But one of the biggest things I miss is that I've been able to tell me about people who died who I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. I've had that one. Or people whose marriages are broken up, who it turns out are not my friends, they're probably my sisters, or maybe someone she works with. But you come to the point where you just listen to the story, because you suggesting you don't know who they're talking about just gets them riled up. Let them tell them the story.
Well, we've got an immense family, and they're all in the same town, basically. It's just,
right.
I think so you'd get, oh, remember Uncle David? No. You know, he had brown hair? No.
Yeah.
Andy Hazel's son. I don't even know who Andy Hazel is.
And then it would turn out 2 days later, his name wasn't David, it was Tom or something.
But she used to relish that. It's like, Mum, why are you ringing us? To tell us about people who died?
Because it wasn't about that, it was about talking to you.
Exactly. But, so families are up there. They're like any sort of group of friends or associates. They're like amorphous. It's not really you have individual relationships, but there's not like a... I've got my family are the family I interact with.
Yeah.
Oddly, the TLNA a lot, because a lot of the listeners, and you'll know who you are when you listen to this, been right behind us the last couple of years. DMs and stuff.
Yeah.
And your mates, really, the whole notion of the family must run round sort of doesn't really buy it.
No. And is it fair to expect that these days, I wonder?
Not these days.
Anyway, lovely to speak to you, Cleo. I've got to move on because I've got Alistair hanging on. But
happy bye.
Hey, I'm glad things are looking up for you.
Why aye, marvellous.
0344 499 1000. Let's have a word with Alistair. Hey, Alistair.
Hi, Catherine.
Hey, what's going on?
First of all, is your bathroom any better?
I am still not the owner of anything other than a sink and a toilet downstairs, but thankfully I can go over this is where family comes in very handy. They've got a shower that I can use. But yeah, they came today, and the builders came today, and they came. I woke up to the sound of strange men's voices on the landing, which is something I can't tell you every single day, but they did the job. It was great.
Oh, well, I hope it's all resolved soon for you.
I didn't tell you about the first. Yeah, and I didn't tell you about the first lot, did I? We got ghosted.
What?
Yeah, we got ghosted. This couple came round, and she was the designer, and he was the doer. And they came round, they seemed really nice, and made a big fuss of the cat, and they had plans, and they told us which bits and bobs to get, and said they could come back at the beginning of December and just give them a shout when we were ready. We did. Nothing. We tried again, nothing. We went round the house, empty. Well, there was one light on, but we think it might have been a timer. So I don't know what's happened, but it's a really weird one because it's not a rip-off because they didn't get any money. But we just had like a whole bathroom in our garage for a lot longer than we expected to. It's just such a strange thing.
Maybe they're surveilling you and others to see what was nickable.
Well, they will have seen that we already look like we've been burgled, honestly, when you've got that many people in such a small place. But Ian reckons they might have been perverts who like making people buy bathroom furniture. They like knowing what your toilet looks like. Well, that's Ian's mind for you.
Yeah. Anyway, families.
Yeah, go on.
Right, well, first of all, thanks for putting this question, because I think it's dead important. Right, so my family really, for many, many years, was a bit of a mess. Because, I mean, I'm coming from this. I'm coming to this subject. You know, you grow up in a family, and if you have, like, bad experiences, that may lead to individual problems for you.
Yeah.
So a lot of what happened in my family, I, having had chance now to look back on it in a sober manner, if you like, I can see some of those things that happened in the family contributed in part to my drinking.
Right.
So for me, as an example, my eldest brother was, how can I say, he was a control freak, and he had to be king of the castle all the time in the family, and he caused so many arguments with the middle brother, he was older than me, and then the power control man he was the eldest, and relationships were always fraught, and the atmosphere was always tense. I was always walking on eggshells, and sort of sat in the corner trying to hide. So it was weird, yeah. So it's kind of, and my goodness, we see so much in the news and on TV programs about people have sunken to drug addiction and other things, possibly because of the family being dysfunctional.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about that, a sort of very controlling family member, and how, and you think it sort of contributed to the way you ended up. When we were talking,
I mean, there are other things as well.
Yeah, and there always are. But talking to Katie yesterday, talking about being with a controlling partner and sort of the sort of drugs, and it's coping, isn't it? It's it's taking yourself out of a situation that never seems to stop.
Yeah, self-medicating.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, as a result of those kind of early experiences, surprise, surprise, now, I mean, my mum and dad have both passed away. My two brothers, they live elsewhere in the country.
Right.
And we don't have, we don't really have close relationships. They keep in contact and occasionally visit. And, you know, we are kind of, on the face of it, friends, but we're not close.
Right.
And
well, you found a way to cope with it, but not put too much pressure on that relationship, because you know you can't. That's
right. I mean, after my father died in 2014, I looked after him for 3 years. I lived with him, but, you know, I'd have separately, just as a side thing, I felt guilt about that because I was drinking through that period as well, as he was.
Yeah.
But after my father's death, I built up, again, while I was drinking, so through that lens, I built up resentments about my brothers, who never really contacted me properly for a couple of years.
Right.
So it was kind of, you know, I mean, we had the occasional phone call, but that was about it, really.
Do you think it was fair? Do you think it's fair, that resentment, or do you think it was a build-up of things?
It was a build-up of things, and I recognise that it takes two to tango. So now that I've been sober, both brothers have visited me.
Gosh, and what was that like?
Well, it was fine, really, because we kind of learned to, especially when, we all got together back at my mum and dad's, we all knew how to, curb all that nonsense and just behave well, and I suppose that's what we did when they came up. I did when they came up, and
I suppose if you're sober, you're more in control of yourself. You can see the niggles coming over the horizon and give them a swerve before you... Because sometimes, if you've had a few, you're in it before you realise it's happening.
Yeah, and I go back into my passive mode.
Oh, do you?
That makes sense, and just get on with them, which is fine. I can do that literally their visits last half a day and then they're gone. So,
right.
Why cause an issue, really?
Yeah. You don't feel like you'll ever sort of have it out with them?
Not really. I mean, I had a very drunken conversation with one of my brothers who certain issues had come about, but it obviously was not helpful because I was drunk.
Yeah, not the right time. And also that you can dismiss it the next morning and it's, you'd had a few.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that it's such an important thing, isn't it? I mean, families can be so complex. Do you not find?
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's part of... If you are going to keep it together, I mean, what that description means, I don't know. I think if you are going to coexist, I think is probably more the thing. It's appreciating that everyone is different. So you've got different quirks and different hang-ups, and everyone has. And that there are certain things maybe you should avoid talking about because you know how it'll go. And that's not... That's
normal, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think that's being cowardly. I think that's just respecting your differences. I think that's probably part of it. I'm assuming, you're not coming from a family where it's not safe to be around them. That's a completely different question.
Not really.
But, there's always frictions in families. I love my family, but I know there are certain things that set my mum off and set my sister off and stuff, and that get on her nerves, that get on their nerves that I do, and vice versa. Just try and keep a lid on it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to know it because they can't change it.
That's it. So most of the time now, as you said, I think you mentioned it in your introduction, my family now is AA, and certain friends I'm still in touch with, and I'll hold my two brothers as kind of there, but kind of more distant, but they're always welcome for either contact or to visit.
Yeah.
I myself have to admit that I've not been down to see them for a while also, so it's...
Do you fancy that?
Yes and no.
It will be an achievement, I guess, won't it?
Could be a challenge, I should set. There is a good book, by the way, Kath, about this called Families and How to Survive Them.
Yeah.
By John Cleese and Robin Skinner.
John Cleese, the most diplomatic man on the planet.
Well, exactly. So I think it's written in with a certain sense of humour within it. But Robin Skinner is he was a respected psychologist in the 70s.
Right.
And it's quite a good read.
I might have a look at that. I've kind of... At the moment, I'm dealing with a lot of sort of pre-teenage stuff with my daughter and her friendship group. She's got a couple of friends who basically are a pain in the backside, and they take great delight. And I get that I'm only hearing her side of the story, and everyone filters. Yeah. The story you tell your mum is not necessarily the story that I would see with my own eyes. You know what I mean? If I was disguised as a bush or something. Yeah. But, the kid is coming home upset from school, and these kids are having a dig at her. And I'm having to tell her that some people you just don't get on with. And that's cool. That doesn't mean you have to hate them. That doesn't mean you have to be aggressive towards them. It's just some people, the combination is not right. And it's something that she's going to have to work out for herself. But it's a lesson hard hard won, isn't it? That one, the way you just go, do you know what? We're just never going to be best mates. We can probably, not hate each other's guts and be civil and all that stuff, but this is pointless trying to, to be anything more.
Has she got friends, though, at school?
She seems to be...
That she can rely on?
Well, yeah, but the frustrating thing is that she keeps kind of, I don't know, giving them the chance to have another dig, if you know what I mean. So she'll give them another chance and then, or she'll ask them for a favour, or there'll be something. And I'll say, just don't, because it's not going to change. But she's got to learn it herself, and that's the terrible thing as a parent. And also, I went through the same thing. It's bloody girls. I don't know what it is. I
was going to say, as a mother, it must be a worrying time.
Yeah.
Because you want the best for your kids.
Yeah.
The best experience they can have at school.
But it's also allowing them to experience life,
Yeah.
It's...
I mean, when I was sent to boarding school, I was left on my own quite a lot, because I never really, because what happened in the family, I continued that at boarding school. I kind of stood back, and I didn't engage, and as a result, they then turned against me anyway, and of course other things happened. But it's...
Do you know, I've heard that a couple of times. A couple of people I know went to boarding school said that you kind of learn to be a chameleon. You learn to be whatever is the least offensive to the most people, but you kind of lose track of who you are sometimes.
That's it. And I literally tried to be a mouse. Do you know what I mean? Not to be noticed. And unfortunately, that continued for the rest of my life until I got sober.
Yeah. Honestly, the change in you, Alistair, has been amazing, and you impress me every day.
Well, the thing is, I just wanted to say as well that both you and Ian, with your encouragement, and also I've had a few messages from other listeners of support, and it's been absolutely marvellous. Well,
you're a champ. Thanks very much for keeping us kind of abreast of what's been going on with you, Alistair. It's really appreciated, and it's also important because you know what it's like. There'll be someone listening who's in the middle of it who thinks it's not possible to stop, and you're kind of giving them the chance to see that there's an alternative.
Yeah, and even if you're in the worst possible situation, in terms of your own circumstances out there is a way out, and things can improve, and you should always try and keep that in reserve, and try and seek some help, and the help is usually there.
Thanks very much, Alistair.
You're very welcome, and well, I shall see you in April in Birmingham, Katherine.
Brilliant, I look out for you. Thanks very much. Alistair there, 0344 499 1000. That's a really special thing about this programme, and the thing I'm possibly most proud of, the fact that you kind of all help each other out, whether it's, literally with Twitter or whatever, the connections that are made there, but sometimes just by sharing your experiences. If you want to give us a shout, we're on 0344 499 1000.
Late night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
New York City today, and this is
about 4 tablespoonfuls of that, and you beat.
You were better, they were wrong. You had so many friends, they all left you in the end, 'cause they couldn't take the patter. And I'll see you, baby, when the clans rise again. Women and men, united by a struggle going down. You go walking to the water with your sister and your daughter in this free world. If I wore your shades, could I share your point of view? Could I make you feel better? Paint a picture, write a letter. Well, I know what you're saying, but I see the things you do, and it's much too dangerous to get closer to you. But I will see you, baby, when the clans rise again. Women and men, united by the struggle going down. With a pocket for plastic, like a dollar on elastic in this free world. And you'd never heard a friend who wouldn't tell you it's
You're listening to Talk Radio. I'm Katherine Boyle. That was Kirsty McCall. We're going to speak to Jessie in a second, but just to keep you up to date with what we've been talking about, not that it matters, you can talk about whatever you want on 0344 499 1000. But families, like, there's been a lot of talk in the media recently about the loyalty you owe to your family members, the people that you share your DNA with, whether there is some sort of duty that should keep you respectful of them, regardless of what the family history is. I mean, we kind of all know that isn't true, don't we? 0344 499 1000. And the complications of being a good daughter or a good son or a good brother or a good sister. And sometimes you have to accept that you just don't get on, don't you? For the sake of peace, for the sake of your own sanity, sometimes for the sake of your safety, you have to remove yourself. That's got to be a bloody hard decision. I want your stories, 0344 499 1000. But we've also got other stuff, like, for example, the guy who wanted to make sure that his twins had time with his wife and time with him as individuals at certain points. That's really important, isn't it? Think about again, it's about kind of sibling rivalry. Sibling rivalry is natural, right? It's about survival. It's about the person that gets the attention, gets the food. If you think about, you know, what it would have been like when we were cave dwellers, the kid that shouted loud enough is the one that got fed more, the one that muscled the other one out of the way. And it's not that the kid was particularly selfish. It's kind of animal instinct. So to be taken out by your mum or dad, just one-on-one, every now and again, that's got to be something, that's got to be healthy, hasn't it? Whether you're a twin or not. There's so many of us that kind of missed out on that time, and it makes a big difference. It certainly made a difference to my kids. I've also got this one, because I bear in mind that we don't just want to do the heavy stuff, right? And the heavy stuff is fine by me. I can turn this show on a penny if that's what's necessary. Don't you worry about that. So give me a shout about whatever. But this one, exorcist's wife almost killed after being attacked by demon from a Ouija board. I think we'll save that one for a bit later on, but that one is definitely a possibility. This is a real-life spooky one, though. Paul Davis, have you got one of these smart doorbells? Because I've thought about these, especially as a night worker. It'd be quite nice to be able to tell people to bugger off while still lying in bed, do you know what I mean? Or just stick it in the shed or whatever, the parcel. But this guy, I guess he's kind of regretting buying this. A smart doorbell and an account with Amazon-owned Ring went from being a nifty feature for Paul Davis to bringing chilling and disturbing voices into his family home and threats to his children. Right, I would normally do spooky music, but I think this is a bloody serious one. A dad was disturbed to receive a chilling phone call from a stranger telling him that his family were being watched inside their home after their smart doorbell was hacked. Paul Davis began hearing disturbing voices in his house before a man began phoning him saying, "I'm waiting for you outside," and, charmingly, "I want to batter you." Paul, who had 3 young children in the house, became terrified when the mysterious voice began mentioning a 3-year-old Alfie, 6-year-old Florrie, and 5-year-old Eva, and asked, "Can I look at your kids?" All right, okay. I mean, that's awful. Now the dad is warning others that the cutting-edge technology, which includes a doorbell camera linked to your mobile phone, allowing you to view your front door when you're not there, can go awry and allow creepy hackers to terrify your family. Paul, 38, told Wales Online how he first knew something was up when he received an email telling him someone had logged into his account with Ring, which is a home security and smart home company owned by Amazon. The Port Talbot man said the first call came within hours. Bloody hell, this is awful. A stranger began calling, saying he was watching them inside their house. Mr. Davis explains, "We were in the house, the kids had just gone to bed, and I had an email around 6:40 p.m. off the Ring website to say there was a login from a different web address. I just assumed it was fraudulent, the email, so I ignored it. About 20 minutes later, I said I could hear voices. My wife, Leanne, said it was probably my son's toy coming through the baby monitor, but they were coming from outside. I had a look and there was nobody out there." Paul said his phone started ringing about 8:30 p.m, but there was no caller ID, and a man's voice asked, "Is that Paul?" when he answered. Bloody hell. He was being friendly at first. This is the worst ones, right? When people are friendly at first. I mean, everything else aside, when they start out nice. He was being friendly at first, asking me to come out the front, saying, "I'm waiting for you outside." Oh my God. I looked outside the window and I couldn't see anyone there. I asked him, "Who are you?" And he said, "It doesn't matter, come outside." I mean, at this point, the phone goes down, doesn't it? You call the police. It was at this point that the man's voice became threatening. Then he said, "I want to batter you," and said, "If you don't come outside, I'm going to steal your car," said Paul. Chillingly, the mysterious creep knew the family's car was white and asked Paul to go to the front door to pass him the keys. Paul said, "I told him I wasn't going to come outside and hung up. My wife was quite worried and looking outside the window with me, but we couldn't see anyone. I didn't want to go outside and leave the house unlocked with the 3 children in the house and my wife." Oh my God. But it was the next call. As if that wasn't bad enough. Do we read this out? It was the next call that made Paul shudder. He rang me straight back and said, "Why won't you come outside?" And I told him the kids were in bed, and then he started asking, "Can I look at your kids?" I was concerned I'd upset someone and they were outside my house. To go to the bother to get someone's phone number and ring them, I thought they had to have a big grudge. I wasn't sure if someone was watching the house pretending they were on my drive, and if they were, how far they'd want to take it. They did no harm, but when they asked to see my kids, you think there are some twisted people out there. You can also get internal cameras, so I'm just thankful we don't have those. Eventually, Paul and wife Leanne had a light bulb moment. The anonymous hacker was reading off details from their Ring account. Paul said during the phone call, the man said my street address but got the house number wrong. It was the number that the doorbell was registered to. We put in the number of another house in the street because Ring didn't pick up our actual house number. So with that and the email, we started to piece things together. I got the Ring app up on my phone. Anytime someone live views you, you can see. And the account had been live viewed about 4 or 5 times in under 20 minutes. The doorbell camera is triggered by emotion and records footage which can then be viewed at a later time. And it was a piece of information the caller revealed that showed what they may have been able to view. Oh God, all right, they're talking about what he's wearing and stuff. Let's pan down because I think we all need to be reassured, right? Paul eventually phoned the police. They made a log of it and saw that there was a data breach back in December where people's data was stolen, Paul added. Since then, it seems Ring has brought in a 2-step sign-in authentication, which I've now activated, and I've changed all my passwords on everything. A spokesperson for South Wales Police said, "We received report of an incident of suspicious phone calls and a doorbell camera being hacked in Tyebach on January 19th about 9:30pm. We're carrying out inquiries and reminding people to be aware of what steps they can take to protect themselves online. Lots of advice can be found at getsafeonline.org. Paul also spoke with Ring, and the company promised they're investigating after the chilling ordeal. Ring say, "While our investigation is ongoing, we do not have any evidence that this incident is related to a breach or compromise of Ring's system or network. It is not uncommon for bad actors," and I think they mean people that do bad things rather than, hams, to harvest data from other companies' data breaches and create lists like that so that other bad actors can attempt to gain access to other services. Flipping it. Best practices can be found on the Ring website. Blimey, that's worth knowing, isn't it? I mean, as long as you follow the security advice, it's probably quite a nifty thing still, but all the same, blimey. Hello, Jessie.
Hello, Catherine.
Hey, thanks for giving us a ring. What can we do for you?
A couple of things.
Go on.
I hope, because I listen all the time, I hope Katie's still listening.
I'm sure she is.
Pardon?
I'm sure she is.
Because, as you're aware, I've been through awful domestic violence too.
I know.
And I just want to send hugs to her. And also, just a bit extra to what you were saying about refuge.
Yes, go on.
Because you can, wherever you live in the UK, you can, it's actually public this, so you can get it easily. Google the local women's aid office.
Yeah.
And they can give you, well, they can help you get in the refuge, but you don't need that. You can get outreach service.
I think that's what she could do with, because she's all right now. They're separated, and
that's what I thought.
But I think she just needs help dealing with how she. I was going to say, Jessie, I think she just needs help dealing with how she feels and how she carries on now, because horrible as it is, she's sort of got used to that relationship.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, I bet.
Also, they have groups, survivor groups.
Oh, that sounds just the job.
So that would really help her. I hope she's listening.
I hope so. I'll tell her next time she rings up. Women's Aid.
Yeah. Also,
yeah.
Can I bring up another subject?
Of course you can.
That you haven't, but it's close to my heart, as you know.
Go on.
Linked with my domestic violence. You know, the new Jack's Law.
Remind me.
It's only been mentioned today.
Yeah.
They're giving mums minimum 2 weeks paid leave after bereavement.
Right.
Of losing a child under 18.
2 weeks paid bereavement leave.
Minimum.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks, you're not going to be sorted after 2 weeks, but it gives you something, doesn't it?
It never goes away.
No.
But,
no.
like, some employers don't treat people right, and they don't. They get unpaid, that's why they've been brought that in.
Yeah.
It's a mum that lost a wee boy.
Yeah, poor love.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you keeping these days, Jessie?
Okay, thanks.
Good.
My cat keeps me going.
Your cat?
My cat's called Angel.
Oh, yeah, of course, I know you call it.
Mother of my wee baby, yeah.
Isn't it funny how animals can help, even though they can't talk back? Maybe sometimes because they can't talk back.
Yeah, really helps. And he loves, my cat loves listening to your show.
How do you know? My cat has always got a flipping miserable face on.
He always sits on the radio when you are.
Oh, well, that's nice. Thanks very much for letting us know that, Jessie.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine.
Hey, thank you. And I'll remember to tell Katie about that Women's Aid thing. I think that could be really useful.
Yeah.
All right, take care of yourself, Jessie. Thanks for ringing. Hello, Liam.
Oh, hey, Kath, how's it going?
I'm all right. How are you keeping, Liam?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. My friend Mika's here. He came, when you did your show in Brighton, he came along with me.
Oh, I remember him.
Yeah, do you? Yeah, he was quite vocal and lovely, wasn't he?
He had a lovely time.
Yeah, I told him, he didn't believe me that I could speak to you, and I'm proving him wrong.
Good, you show him. How are you doing, Liam?
Yeah, all right.
That doesn't sound massively convincing.
Yeah, well, I guess, medium. I'm okay. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes that'll do. Yeah, I am.
What about Ian? What's Ian up to?
He's having a couple of days off because it's been bloody tough and stressful recently, and so.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, send him my best wishes.
Of course I will. He's all right.
Well, I always phone into your station and I never have anything to say. It's just nice to speak to you. So.
Oh, thanks, Liam. Well, it was nice to hear from you. Give us a shout whenever you feel like, all right?
Yeah, no worries. God bless.
And hello to Mika, the disbeliever. 0344 499 1000 is the number to ring if you fancy a chat. We can talk about the kind of complication that comes along with being a family member. How sometimes it's impossible to be that person that they expect you to be. And sometimes DNA is not the only thing that keeps you together. 0344 499 1000. Sometimes you got to cut loose for your own sanity and sometimes your own safety. But sometimes you land on your feet and you find something that is, I don't know, healthier than your family. You find choose a family. You surround yourself with people who do something for you that they can't. Do you know what I mean? And is it fair to expect people to be absolutely perfect just because you grew up with them? It's not really, is it? Mind you, I don't think most of us are expecting perfection. Just all right would be great, wouldn't it? 0344 499 1000, give me a shout. You can talk about that. We can talk about flipping ring doorbells if you want to. We can talk about, what else have we had? Oh, I've not told you about The Exorcist's Wife. I'll tell you about that in a bit.
Late night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Except it's not, it's me, it's Katherine Boyle. I'm usually here with Ian, but we're a man down. It's all right, he'll be back on Monday. 0344 499 1000. We're talking about the complications of being part of a family and whether family has got to come first at all times and whether it's possible to do that, really. No one's from a perfect family, are they? 0344 499 1000. We're also talking about... Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask you about... Can someone explain to me what this lip thing is, right? Because I've noticed that some they're not even surgeries. Some beauticians are offering like an Insta face. Have you seen this? Where they'll do your eyebrows, those nice big thick eyebrows. I'm all about. I like thick eyebrows. I like a pair of thick eyebrows. I was always warned never to pluck them too thin because they won't grow back. My mum had those sort of 70s eyebrows that look like paisley, like a tadpole. I was always warned, don't do that. So thick eyebrows they'll give you. Fillers, and we're talking about women in their early 20s, before things have started to go south or fall off, they're doing these things. And great big lips. But the thing is, because these things are quite pricey, there are companies on social media, Instagram, Facebook, that will send you the equipment to do these procedures on yourself. Now, I know it sounds like a terrible idea, but I also know what it was like when I was in my 20s and hard up. I might well have... I'd like to think I wouldn't, but I was as daft as everyone else. I'd like to think I wouldn't have done it, but, I end up with these great... Have a look online, honestly. Some of these girls are ending up with, and boys, are ending up with great... Do you remember Ivy Tilsley when she did her lips? And everyone was supposed to not have noticed that this, long-running character in Coronation Street had quite a remarkable makeover. Some women are coming out looking like that, like a character from The Simpsons, or more like one of those fish that sticks on the side of a fish tank. One of those. I mean, it's not a natural look. It's not a natural look at all. But I think it's something that we're getting used to seeing more and more, and maybe it's something. I'm hoping what it's going to do is. Do you remember when people started getting obvious boob jobs in the 90s where they looked like two barm cakes stuck on an ironing board, when you could see the roundy bit at the top as well as at the bottom? I'm hoping that what's going to happen with this is that we'll all realise it's a daft look and move on and maybe embrace something a bit more natural. But that's because I'm an old fart. I am going to have to stop my daughters at some point, aren't I, from quote-unquote enhancing themselves. Unless something very radical changes in the next 10 years or so. 0344 499 1000. If you fancy getting something done, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you've had something done, is it possible to get these procedures done with your lips, for example, where you don't look like you've been punched in the kisser? 0344 499 1000. And also, because it's getting a little bit dark, and I don't mind that, it's my job to navigate the waterways of conversation with you tonight. But rather than being completely dark all the time, we were talking a bit at the start of the programme about looking for the joy in life, because it's that time of year where everything's a little bit depressing. Christmas has been and gone, and we're back in the swing of things. What are you looking forward to? Let's have a talk about that. What's the next thing you're really looking forward to? I'd love to hear those stories. 0344 499 1000. First though, let's have a quick word with Andrew. Hey Andrew.
Hi Catherine.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. I need to say I was pissed myself from there when he said about the boob jobs with the roundy bits at the bottom.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, though, don't you?
Yeah, I know exactly. They're not the most attractive.
No, but for a while, that was what they were supposed to look like. Do you know what I mean? The Mitchell brothers peeping out the top of your...
Exactly.
Anyway, go on, Andrew. You've not come here to talk filth.
I was just phoned just when you were talking about the family thing. Yeah. My family's awfully fractured.
Really?
I've got a brother that's disappeared. Nobody knows where he is. He was a golden boy as well. My mum loved him. And me and my sister have had disagreements. Families are funny things, aren't they?
They are very funny things. But so, have you always been that sort of family that rowed, or did something particular happen?
Didn't be round. Just things happened. You see, it's bizarre. It's just a strange thing.
Yeah.
I've got one brother. Two brothers and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister doesn't talk to me anymore. That I say one of the brothers had disappeared, but me and the other brother are just thieves. You know what I mean? It's a funny thing with families.
Do you think you're better off this way rather than trying to make it, happy families?
No, I've tried. I've tried. You
just don't get on.
I've been in contact, but I went to my sister's a couple of months ago and just cold called her at the door.
Sorry, what was that? You're a bit muffled. Tell me again.
Sorry, I went to my sister's the other month, just called her at the door.
Yeah, what happened?
And it went well. But then she texted me after I'd left, going, "Don't ever turn up at my door again."
Oh, really? That's weird.
Oh, that's weird. That is weird.
What's going on there, do you think?
No idea. She says that. And you were saying earlier as well about cousins and things. I go on better with my cousins than I do with my actual siblings.
Do you think maybe because there's less pressure to get on?
Probably.
A bit more space.
It could be. It could be indeed.
It's just the way it goes sometimes, though, Andrew. You don't seem... how do you feel about it? You don't seem massively bothered.
No, it really does make me sad.
Yeah.
As I say, especially the other brother that's not been touched. I mean, my father passed away, and he's not got any idea because none of us know where he is.
God. What happened with him then? What did he tell you he was cutting himself? No. Was it obvious that he wasn't?
No, he was. Oh God, how do I explain this? As I say, he was the golden boy. He was my mum's favourite. And then, all of a sudden, he just upped and went and never get in touch. As I say, he doesn't even know that his dad's passed away.
Gosh. He'll have reasons, won't he?
It was always a bit of arsehole. Can I say that? I would say it on the radio.
That's probably the limit of what we can say on the radio, but I know what you mean.
He used to. Yeah, he was a bit of a bully as well.
Really? But your sister, you think there might be hope there, but what was the thing?
We're still in contact, but I don't know.
Can I make a suggestion? Because obviously she doesn't like being confronted on the doorstep, and maybe the reaction you got wasn't entirely real, and it was only afterwards that you got the real reaction, and that must have hurt, by the way. That's horrible. What about if you were to write her a letter and put everything in it? Nothing aggressive or anger or anything like that, but just telling her how you feel about her not being so much in your life anymore. And then you leave the ball in her court there. But you've said it.
No, that's that's good. As I say, I do miss her. She was my best pal growing up.
Tell her. Because the worst thing that can happen is it stays the same as it is.
Aye.
Andrew, you're a nice fella, I can tell.
I can't get my faults, but I'm not the worst.
No, exactly. Write them down. And I don't know if you've got someone who could just read it through to make sure there's nothing in there that could cause offence or anything like that. But then just stick it through the letterbox and see what happens. And then at least you've tried.
Aye, I'll do that.
And do you know what? Even if you just write it and don't send it, it's probably worth just getting it out on a page anyway.
Aye.
Good luck, Andrew.
Right, thanks.
Take care of yourself, and thanks for ringing. I really do appreciate it. 0344 499 1000. Hello, Damien.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for hanging on. What have you got?
I'm going to lighten things up a bit for you.
Go on.
And family as well. 2 in 1. I was given up for adoption in 1973. And I just met my biological mum and sister.
Wow.
Before Christmas. And I just feel... I was just listening to Andrew, and my heart goes out to him because I've had 2 wonderful families now that have been rooting for me for all these years, 47 years.
Right, so you met your mum and she was up for... Because you hear these horror stories, don't you? And everyone's got expectations, and and it's very easy to be disappointed because, you know, lives go in different directions. So tell me as much as you can about how it came about, Damien. I'm really interested.
it came about just before Christmas when I was buying some presents. I bought a DNA test for my parents' dog.
Whoa, hang on a minute. For the dog?
Yeah, for the dog. And I was talking to my other half.
The dog's been having an existential crisis, doesn't know who he is anymore.
He's fine. We just wanted to know what breed he was. He's a bit of a mongrel.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd love to do this for me, where I come from, because I've always known I was adopted. And I said, it'd probably be cheaper to just find my biological family, wouldn't it, rather than, do a human DNA test. And no sooner had I said that, my other half went out, and in that time, in about half an hour, I went on Facebook. I already knew my biological sister's name.
Oh, right. How did you find that out?
That was from the adoption agency.
Okay.
He gave me loads of details about 10 years ago. And the power of Facebook. There she was. And I didn't message her directly. I messaged her husband because I didn't want to freak her out if she didn't know about me.
Yeah. And
he got in touch within 5 minutes, and she's been searching for you for your whole life.
Oh, Damien.
So, and within a week we'd met. I met my sister. Then 2 weeks later I met my biological mum.
God, what was that like, standing on the doorstep of this sister?
Just amazing. It just felt completely fine. For years, for all my life, I think I'd kind of been in denial. I didn't need to meet them. I didn't need to know anymore. But
why? Because it felt sort of disloyal to your family.
Yeah, there's that element to it, and also I'd had such a great, childhood. I've had, my family's amazing. I've got, my adoptive parents and an adoptive sister as well, and I couldn't have asked for more. I've never had any problems with the family, so I never felt the need to look any further.
Yeah.
I just listened to Andrew and hearing about, family arguments and fallouts over, usually such silly things.
Yeah, and the longer it goes on, the easier it is to just let it go.
Yeah, when you could just say what you need to say.
Yeah. So this sister, she knew about you presumably for years, you say?
Yeah, she's two and a half years older than me.
Gosh, does she remember then? Does she remember you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she'd been searching for me forever, but because I'd obviously had my name changed, they'd given me my name at birth, but then of course it's changed by the adoptive parents, and she would have no clue of where to look for me.
Gosh. So, did you find you had a lot in common? Was it an easy thing to just start a relationship? Or?
Yeah. We may as well be twins.
Wow.
The similarities are incredible. It just feels, for years and years I imagined in my mind how that would feel to meet them if I ever did, not thinking it would happen.
Yeah.
I've suffered with anxiety and depression for years, probably maybe related to adoption issues. But I had no fear. I had no sense of anxiety or emotional upset. It's a very emotional thing. But I just felt really great. I just felt really calm.
Gosh.
And my adoptive parents and my sister, my adoptive sister have been great about it as well. So
yeah. Were you worried about telling them that that's what you wanted to do or no?
No.
I know your sister's the one that.
No,
it was your other half, wasn't it? Yeah. It was your other half that. What was it you said? Within 5 minutes, your other half had. What's she done?
Oh no! Within 5 minutes, my biological sister's husband had contacted me. I contacted him first, sort of as a soft way to approach.
And that's brilliant. That's really thoughtful.
Well, she may not have known about me, and that you could destroy somebody's life, instead of.
And did you know the circumstances of your being put up for adoption, or?
Yeah, I know everything. I know everything. It was just, one of those things. My biological mum, really wanted to keep me, and my biological dad absolutely didn't. And at that time in the 70s, there were few options, and thankfully they did the right thing and gave me the best life they could.
Yeah. So from the sister, then you meet the mum. What was that like?
Oh, just the same, amazing. Really good. So now I've got 2 families to deal with.
yeah, and you've got another set of birthdays to remember and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds great. So how did your mum feel about finding you? I mean, it's a ridiculous question, but what she told you?
She's told me everything. Yeah. I think I've always been a really open person, and they're the same, and we've talked about everything. And she was very, very guilty, you know. She felt like she had to make up for all these years, 47 years. And I said, you have nothing to be guilty for. You gave me the best life possible. What were the alternatives? You know, I could have ended up anywhere, you know, or not here at all.
Yeah, or being raised by a dad that didn't want you.
Absolutely.
What's happened to that biological father?
We don't know.
Right.
And we don't care. That's fine. You know, I kind of realise where my traits come from, and they're certainly not from him, from what I've been told about him. But
right, gosh,
you know, that's all good.
And how is it impacted on your mental health now? You talked about anxiety and depression. Do you feel any lift there, or
a massive lift?
Isn't it funny?
Massively, massive difference. You know, you can go through your life being adopted, and you think everything's fine, but you wonder if you're living the life you should be.
Yeah.
You question your identity because you don't know your real roots. And now I feel like I've got my real roots along with the nurture of the family I've grown up with. So I'm just very lucky. Very, very lucky.
It's incredible. I mean, if you listen to this show, you'll know a bit about Ian's kind of journey. And I hate the word journey, but you know what I mean, his experiences. Yeah. And how important authenticity and being honest and living a more straightforward life have done, the difference it's made, you know?
The secret to everything in life is simplicity and authenticity. Just simplify everything as far as you can. You know, we all complicate things and we all overthink things. You know, thoughts aren't things, they're just thoughts.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
We overthink things and make things such a big deal. When in reality, we're much simpler people. We've overwhelmed ourselves, you know, with technology and social media and things like that. If we just simplify ourselves and go back to basics, small groups of friends, small, you know, family around us, they're the things you need.
Do you think also sometimes accepting that there are certain people that are no good for you in your life?
Oh yeah, massively. Yeah, I had cancer treatment 2 years ago and found out exactly who the toxic people in my life were.
Wow, okay. That'll do it.
Oh yeah. And it's very freeing. Yeah, I've wanted to speak to Ian for a long time, actually. I've heard, you know, but that's his journey, you know, but I would always be here if he needed me.
You're a good one, Damien. Thanks very much for phoning.
Thank you.
Hey, I've got to ask you before you go, though, what's the next thing you're looking forward to?
Producing an album.
What?
I make music, so I'm going to produce an album.
Right, well, when you do, I want to hear about it.
You will do.
All right, you give me a shout. Thanks very much, Damien.
Thank you.
0344 499 1000.
Late night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
It's me. I'm Katherine Boyle. I'm usually here with Ian, but he's having a couple of days off. But we shall plough on. I'm looking at some right faces here on my computer screen. You know, this fashion for great big pouty lips, right? It's quite common now for, you know, girls, particularly in their sort of 20s, but, you know, women of all ages, really, to get this procedure done, and it's temporary, and they'll put fillers into your lips, and then it will wear off after a time, and at first it can look quite different, as you can imagine. A bit like sort of a life buoy or something. They're massive. Sometimes they look like they're stuck on. Do you remember when we were kids, you used to be able to get in a Christmas cracker, you'd get these fake lips, plastic ones that you could put between your teeth. That kind of vibe. Anyway, Loads of people are getting them done, and thanks very much for the tweets I've had from people who've had it done themselves. 0344 499 1000. Now, I will admit, in my 20s, I began to sort of buy into this idea. You've got to remember, when I was in my 20s, it's all like Kate Moss and all these lovely bee-stung lips, and I've got quite thin, you know, I'm Irish stock, right? So I've got quite thin Celtic lips that are good for tucking in when the wind's blowing hard. So I always felt a little bit like, you know, I needed to boost them a bit. And you could get these lip, I can't remember what it was called. It was like a lip gloss, but it had cinnamon in it or something. It would make your lips sting. And that's how you end up with bigger lips, right? And it was only ever temporary. And I don't know how much it actually did, because you'd convince yourself by looking in the mirror that while you're going through this kind of nettling effect on your lips, that something different was happening. But really all you were doing was just making your lips tingle, right? So... And maybe they swelled up a tiny bit, but it's certainly not to the extent that people want these days. But this is sort of taking a bit of a turn. You can get anything online these days. You can get people selling you products that promise to do all kinds of things. And there are women these days, primarily women, but some blokes as well, who are doing these kind of lip fillers that they buy online, right? There's some awful stories. This is in the Sun Online at the moment. A shocking 70% of women and girls desperate for lip fillers choose their practitioners from social media. 70%. For one of the main features of your face, where plump pouts are for sale at the click of a mouse. Yet beneath the flashy adverts boasting of bargain prices and glamorous results lies a dark, unregulated trade where so-called beauticians are putting their clients' lives on the line for cash. Countless Brits, including unsuspecting mums Siobhan Phelan and Kelly McVicker, have been maimed, disfigured and left in agony after being lured in by filler deals on sites like Facebook. That's why, as part of Fabulous's Have Our Fail campaign, who's this? Who's writing this? Let's give it the right shout. Sophie Jane Evans. I investigated Facebook Marketplace to see how easy it is to buy fillers. I found that beauticians, and she's put those in quote marks, are selling 6 times the recommended dose of filler, disappearing with customers' cash before the treatment date, and offering lip fillers to children with no parental consent. Facebook has nearly 45 million users in the UK alone, and the company posted a record profit of 68.88 billion, which is £5.23 billion last year. The marketplace section of the site operates in a similar way to Gumtree, where sellers can advertise used goods from cars and cosmetics to fashion and furniture. But the site has previously come under fire for being linked to criminals selling off stolen items and numerous scams. Users are meant to be at least 13 years old to access Facebook, and Marketplace is supposedly only available to those aged 18 or over. But in practice, no proof of age is needed to sign up. Once on the platform, they're easy prey for, and again, quote unquote, beauticians who've left customers with disfigured duck pouts and within minutes of losing their lips. I mean, imagine, you want bigger lips, you might end up with none. And so for this reason, this one is calling for tighter regulations on Britain's filler industry and for social media companies like Facebook to clamp down on dodgy practices. So, I mean, it's got loads of, £149 for lip fillers, or £60 for stuff you can do at home, and hundreds of sellers advertising lip fillers on Marketplace, it says here. Anyway, it's quite an interesting one. But some of these women have ended up, really seriously disfigured. Oh, just be careful. Here's the other thing that I've noticed, right? And I've never had a massively easy body image, to be honest. I've always kind of thought I was massive, even when in later years you realise you're never going to be that tiny again and you were absolutely fine. What a waste it is, right? We waste our youth, particularly women, but I think blokes as well. And I know there are some of you listening out there who will understand what I'm talking about, fellas. That we waste our youth, the time when we are at our most vibrant and most beautiful, and maybe, the slimmest and the trimmest we're ever going to be. We waste it worrying that we don't look like the next, the person on the advertising campaign or on... When I was a kid, it was Baywatch. None of us looked like Baywatch, the Baywatch babes. Even they didn't look like the bloody Baywatch babes half the time. It's ridiculous. This kind of idea that you're not good enough until you sort of work on yourself. Honestly, and you're not going to believe me if you're in your 20s. If you're listening now, if you're in your 20s or late teens... just enjoy being gorgeous, because you are, and one day you'll look at photos of yourself and you'll see it. But it might be 20, 30 years. Just enjoy how you are. Ah, there you go. There's my mummism of the day. Let's have a quick word with Jeffrey in Wigan. Hey, Jeffrey.
Hello, Catherine.
Hello. I bet you were gorgeous in your 20s, weren't you, Jeffrey?
Actually, I was looking at pictures with a friend the other day, and he saw a picture of me with an ex-girlfriend years ago, and he asked if it was two lesbians. So, I don't know.
So, in other words, yes, you were gorgeous.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't really think so. So, I remember looking back, I looked a lot better then than I do now.
I bet your skin was glorious, your eyes were shining.
Yeah.
Your bum was in the right place. I mean, mine certainly was.
Yeah, it was slightly less... it was more pert, you know. You know.
But you never appreciate it at the time. You're always trying to be someone else.
I was trying to be somewhere else. Yeah. I don't know about someone.
Go on, tell me.
I got really bored. By the time I was about 18, I got really bored and I had enough. So I just started saving up. Saved up for 2 years and I just went away, went travelling and didn't come back for years.
Where did you go?
I went through Southeast Asia sort of without a clue or a guidebook or much money, and I didn't appreciate things like they have different alphabets in these countries. I didn't research it very well. But then I got to Australia and New Zealand. That was really easy because, you know, same lingo, right?
Well, more or less, yeah.
Well, I know, there's a lot of slang, and I got a lot of the old Pommy comments there, my gosh.
Really? You didn't realise it was such a thing?
No, not really, but I kept telling them, like, they was the prisoners, we're the ones that didn't get put away, you know?
Oh, blimey, I'm sure they loved that one.
No, they didn't, no. No, not much.
But
yeah, it was good times, really, good times.
Do you think it did you good going away, or did you just end up bringing the same self back?
No, different self. Family didn't really recognise when got back. No, really, I was very lacking in confidence completely when I went away, and by the time I came back, I'd done all these ridiculous jobs, and I don't know, you know, like shared room with 10, 12 people and kitchens with hundreds, and obviously it changes you, and it opened my chances of communicating with people more easily, you know.
That whole thing of broadening your horizons.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And since that, like, I've never thought anything of doing any job. Like, I'd certainly try it, you know, I'd give it a go. Because you just have to when you're doing that.
Right. I've got a friend who did a similar thing, and she's got a kind of similar outlook in that nothing's forever. If you don't like it, you can try something else. It gave her that confidence to just chuck it in, because she knows she can pick it up wherever she wants.
Yeah, you kind of can, you know, like, you just give something else a go and turn your hand to it, and, you know.
I never did such a grand tour. I never did. It was never an option for me. I was always going to go straight from school to university, but I did languages at university, so I was away for a year. I did 6 months in Paris and 6 months in Zaragoza in Spain.
You've spoken about that before, yeah, and that's where you've got it's very strong in French, aren't you? But you speak other languages as well.
Just the French and Spanish. There's a couple of other...
Slightly more than Ian.
Bits and bobs. Oh, yeah, well, Ian. But Ian says it with such conviction that, you know, there's no telling him he's not speaking whatever it might be. But what I learned from that time is that home is wherever you decide it needs to be.
Quite.
I did get a bit fed up of being foreign at some times and having to explain things.
Yeah, but I still do now. Like, I live in the northwest now, and I come from Essex, so I still have to explain on a daily basis why I sound like this.
I bet they call you a Cockney, don't they?
They call me worse than that. Cockney's the first word, yeah.
I'm the other way around. I've lived down south since I was 10. And I think part of the reason why I kept hold of my accent, which, by the way, is not as strong as it was, but still, it's noticeable. I think part of it was that it was made a big deal of, and so, in a way, I kind of stuck my heels in a bit, you know?
Yeah, I think you do, yeah, I think you do.
Because for the first time, you can hear your own voice twanging away different from everyone else's.
Yeah, and it really it sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do
you still find that down south now, or not really?
Oh, God, yeah. We had a double glazing salesman come the other day, and there were a number of things he did that, let's just say, didn't ingratiate himself.
Right.
But it sort of took the mickey out of my accent at one point, and I thought, mate, you're trying to sell me something.
Yeah. Go away.
Yeah, it's...
the yellow pages over there, right?
It's not cool. Exactly. It's not cool. And also, he tried to school... Oh, this is the best one. He tried to school me on... I was wearing a Kiss T-shirt. And then we got talking about various kind of music things, or rather he got talking about it, and he tried to school me on, basically on the zombies and the animals, people we've actually interviewed. So I held back, but I was thinking, all right, now, just sell me some windows and bugger off, because you're not helping here at all.
Do you know what I'd do? I'd order about 20 windows for an house down the road that you don't like.
Well, in the end, he gave us a quote that we got matched and beaten, so it worked out in our favour. But, I mean, some people.
Yeah, it's probably time to move on for them. I think it's the old xenophobia, isn't it? Still.
There is. Do you know what? There's a little bit of north-south stuff.
Yeah, there really is. Yeah. It was worse 20 years ago when I come up here, but it's.
Oh God!
It's still there. Yeah.
When I first moved down south, people in my school thought I was American.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because it's that kind of town where no one ever leaves and no one ever comes in.
No one ever comes back if they do leave.
So yeah, but anyway.
Anyway, I thought I'd give you a nice, cheerful, upbeat phone call.
Thanks very much, Jeffrey.
That's no worries, mate.
What's the next thing you're looking forward to?
I just restarted my business today, so tomorrow I've got to get in touch with Company's House and get a VAT number and all that nonsense and get some business cards done, and I've still not published that bleeding book, and there's lots of things going on. It's good.
All right. Thanks very much for letting me know. Good luck with it. It sounds like a nightmare, but at the same time, you sound excited about it, so that's all.
Nightmares keep me alive.
Wow, okay.
All right.
On that bombshell. Thanks, Jeffrey.
See you there.
Good to speak to you. 0344 499 1000 is the phone number to call. We can talk about whatever you want to. We've been talking a bit about families and the complicated thing that is family. But, you know, as we've just heard, you can talk about whatever the hell you want in whatever the hell accent you got. You can send a text via 87222. Just remember to start your text with the word talk, and that text will cost you 25p plus your standard network charge. Or you can send me a tweet, either at Talk Radio or at FlippinCath with a K and no G. At FlippinCath. But really, I'd like to hear your voice. 0344 499 1000. Coming up after the break, I think we will get a little bit spooky, and I'll tell you about the exorcist's wife who claims she was possessed by something that came out of the Ouija board. I know, but let's just go with it for now. 0344 499 1000. And I've also got a story about husband's distressing and disturbing request. Not like that, you pervert. 0344 499 1000. You're listening to Talk Radio. I'm Katherine Boyle. It'll be me today and tomorrow. Then Iain Lee will be back as usual on Monday. So, while the cat's away and all that, you're listening to Talk Radio.
Talk Radio. Across the UK. Late night with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
She called to say you broke her heart, and she wondered
0344 499 1000. You're listening to Talk Radio. I'm Katherine Boyle, and I'm taking your calls right the way through until midnight tonight about anything you fancy. It's that time of night, isn't it, when sometimes worries and things creep up on you and you've got no one else to talk to. You can always give me a buzz. Or we can talk about what the next thing you're looking forward to is. Because I think that this time of year, this time of night, it's very easy to sort of slip into a bit of a funk and not the cool James Brown type. Do you know what I mean? It's like a, what else is there? What am I going to do? What's the next thing you're looking forward to? And I want to hear your stories about families, whether you come from, the quote-unquote perfect family, which, frankly, I don't believe exists, or a good enough family that actually is hilarious and fun to be part of, or whether you've decided that actually it's not about DNA. You can make your own family from people that you find elsewhere and you're not related to at all, and they're healthier people for you to be around. 0344 499 1000. We've had some absolutely brilliant stories so far, and you're really so good at this. Thanks so much for confiding in me. I do realise that it's a daunting thing to ring up a radio station, but hopefully I can't promise I'll be gentle, but I'll try my best. Hey, Dan.
Hi there. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, what's going on with you?
A few nights ago, I heard on Talk Radio talking about mental health.
Yeah.
And I've got a story about myself, which I think is quite entertaining in a way, but it's a true story.
Go on.
So I'm quite old now. I'm 40-odd. But when I was a young man...
Hang on a minute. 40-odd, you mean like 43?
47.
47?
Bang on the nose there.
I chihuahua. I'm not as good at this as Ian is, but my daughter said something lovely to me the other day. She went, how old are you? And I said, 42. She went, so that's like really late 20s. I went, so late. I'm keeping hold of that. So you were in late 20s, Dan?
Yeah. So I was 24 when my first son was born.
Right.
But prior to that, when I first found out my wife was pregnant, I was in shock.
Yeah.
And I'd just joined the army. We'd moved into the army. Suddenly we're pregnant, and I had it in my mind that I didn't want a child whilst I was in the army. So this was a big shock to me.
Mm-hmm.
So on one particular day, I was going ill for a strained ankle or something. I can't remember exactly what. On the desk in the medical centre was a leaflet saying, if you need advice or something, speak to us. And it was an office that was on the upstairs of the medical centre.
Right.
So I grabbed this piece of paper, I marched upstairs, thinking, whatever. Went into this office where this woman was sat down at her desk, and she says, can I help you? And I literally burst into tears all over the floor, crying my head off, trying to explain everything through my tears about what it was, and I'm having a child, and oh my God, terrible, terrible. And I get to the end of my tears, and she says, I don't think you want to speak to. I'd gone through all that, and it wasn't even her. What happened was they made an appointment with the doctor, and then I went and spoke to the doctor, although I don't know quite why he should be speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said, you can have a child, it's the best thing in the world, and all the rest of it. In the end, it took me a few months to get my head around it, and of course, he's my youngest son, and I'm very proud of him, etc., etc. now. But also, around that period of time, as I approached my 24th birthday, on the day of it, I became more zombified. I don't know why, I had this cloud of depression all over me, and I was just going downer and downer, and as this day came, I was livid. I don't know why, I just was walking around like a zombie, and I think my troops around me knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And what we have, they asked me to stand on a sheet in the middle of a sheet. Now we have these sheets which are about the size of a house in a way, and we tend to fold them up, roll them up and fold them up and roll them up.
Yeah.
But the wind sometimes gets underneath them, so it's not uncommon that you might hold down a corner. Well, they asked me to stand in the middle so that stopped the wind blowing it.
Yeah.
And I sort of like lumbered into the middle. And then they all ran in, wrapped me up in this sheet and chucked me in a skip. It broke my mood. I felt so happy that they'd done it. I felt happy, and it totally lifted me up.
It's that kind of tough love that you talk about in the army, where, it's kind of, they're like brothers.
Yeah, that's right. And it really, it changed my mood. it switched me totally, and I felt really happy that they cared for me enough to chuck me in the skip.
Well, I mean, it's a weird story. I'm not going to lie, Dan, but it's delightful at the same time. And it obviously did the trick for you.
Yeah, it did.
So by the time your son was born, were you ready, or did you still feel a bit powerless about it all?
About 3 months prior to it, I started to turn around.
Yeah.
Obviously, and when he was born, of course, I was proud of Punch, and as you do, carrying around the papoose and all that.
I think if a lot of men are honest, it is a bit of a, especially the first one. And you were 24, you're a baby, basically, Dan.
Well, I had this idea that I wasn't going to have a child whilst I was in the army.
Yeah.
And suddenly, that power was taken out of my hands.
Yeah. I think a lot of men feel that. It's a sort of a panic. I remember the look on my husband's face wasn't entirely delighted. Even though we've been trying, it worked first time, and I think he'd been hoping for a bit more trying. But, yeah, it's a daunting thing when you realise it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you've had a very ordered life, because it's one thing babies ain't, and that's ordered and orderly.
Well, I think for young men, like that we're taught in essence to it's all about yourself. It's about promoting yourself, doing everything yourself. So where women are more about caring for others. I
get what you mean, like that traditional value of the dad being the breadwinner and you've got to be the one out in front because everyone's relying on you.
So when you're a single man and then that you switch then to being a parent, it isn't about you anymore, it's about the child.
Yeah.
And so that is a real change from a man's perspective.
Yeah, and especially a 24-year-old man. I'm going to say it again, you were a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, how old's your eldest son now?
He's 22.
What, exactly? So he's 2 years off how old you were. And I bet he's not ready to be a dad, is he?
Oh, no. He's nowhere near. Nowhere near.
But I suppose if he's not... The other thing is, the army... I don't know. I have friends that joined the army and it did change them. It changed them in an obvious way. They felt a lot more responsible. They felt, they were part of something bigger. And they weren't like the other 20-odd-year-olds that I was knocking about with, I'll put it that way.
It's the best years of my life, work-wise, in the army. I'm not in the army anymore, but...
Do you miss it still?
Oh, yeah, totally.
What made you stop? What made you come out?
I'd done my time.
Right.
I've done 24 years, and that was enough.
Yeah.
And time to move on and do other things. But
God, that transition's got to be something else.
It's the whole society inside there, and young women, young men, as they come through, all bringing their problems, but as they passage through, ideally they work their problems out and attain things, gain things, leadership skills and courses and mentoring each other in many ways.
And when you came out, how hard or easy was it to become a civvy?
It's hard every day, to a degree. My first interview blew me away, and
in what way?
I didn't get the job.
What? And in your head, you thought, I've done X, Y, and Z, and therefore this should happen.
Well, you know how it is. How you they say get back on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. It knocked me off the horse, and I've not really gone back on it.
Oh, really?
I mean, I've got a job in truck driving, but it wasn't the job I was planning to do.
What did you want to do?
I wanted to be a paramedic or a medic or something like that.
All right, okay.
But it's not quite worked out the way I wanted. But hey ho.
Yeah, life, innit?
Yeah. You've still got to plough on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving us a ring. I really appreciate it, Dan. It's nice to speak to you.
All right. Have a nice night.
You too. Take care. 0344 499 1000 is the number you want to ring. Sloop's done that. Let's have a quick word with Sloop John B. Hey, Sloop.
Howdy, Catherine, man. With cats away?
The cat is not the one that's away for once.
It's the big dog Ian. Listen, Catherine, I actually really wanted to pick your brains about something.
Oh, God, this won't take long then.
No. Listen, do you remember before I talked to you about the stuff I'd learned about producing through this podcast?
Yeah.
Right? I was going to say I need a second opinion, but I need confirmation on something because I think I know which way you'll go with this, right?
All right, go on.
And both you and me have got family or parents who are involved in journalism, right? Now, there's a broadcaster and journalist I really respect, okay? And I'm not going to say who it is in case anyone...
Because you'd embarrass me.
How did you know, Catherine? But I guess what it is there was an incident. I'll say what the incident is. I'm a wrestling nut, as we all know.
Yeah.
But it was quite a nasty incident called the mass transit incident, where a kid and his father basically lied to a producer and got onto a wrestling show, and the kid got really badly hurt. He was 17. And
Oh, my God. What, and they said he was a wrestler, and he wasn't?
No, yeah, he literally put on a load of gear and turned up, and the producer made the massive error of not asking for actual paperwork documentation. So he went out there, and anyone who can Google it can Google it. The kid's name was Eric Koulis, and he got really badly hurt, and there was a lawsuit which he didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is that I've given stories to this broadcaster before, because he takes them on his website. Look, you got something for me? Let me know.
Yeah.
And I think just to give you a little bit of backside on something, Ian was on a podcast called Off the Beaten Track.
Yep, heard it.
Yeah. I got somebody on that because I just sent a very polite message to Stuart, a guy called Andrew Emery, who I spoke to you about his book.
Right.
And I was rewarded by him revealing on the show that the book's now been optioned for a television show.
All right, great.
So it was a great feeling. And again, I've got this story, and it ties into what maybe you've been hinting at to do with like Harry and Meghan and stuff.
Yeah.
The media. I could probably get this story through. I know I could. And I think the guy would not only probably speak to this wrestler that was involved in it, and probably it would be a big story for him.
Right.
But there's part of me that I've been quite upset. I never get upset with politics, but the whole Harry and Meghan thing is actually it's touched a nerve with me because, like I said, with my dad being involved in journalism, I know quite a lot about it, and I find that good journalists are good journalists, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm quite uneasy with journalism, and that's one subject. I shouldn't send this story through, should I?
Well, it sounds like you've answered your own question. You know, you've got to live with yourself. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Because the story will get published or broadcast or whatever it is, and then
millions,
and then there'll be an impact on people.
Well, I think he deserves. His family have probably had enough, and they deserve to have some peace and not maybe have a journalist start prodding around again. And even though for me it would mean that I would meet someone who's one of the biggest journalists on the face of the planet, well, what I would say is maybe have some recognition from this person.
Yeah.
I've got to really
do you want it like this? Here's the thing. Do you want it like this?
No.
Then you
There's
answered
better
your
way
question.
to do it, isn't there?
Yeah. I've been asked to do things in the past when, like, you know, standing outside hospitals asking parents if they're worried and refused to do it. And it probably means that I've not got on as in the same way that I would have got on. You know, I'm not a reporter now, put it that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I'm that person.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because the thing is that when with this Meghan and Harry thing, it really brought it back to me because I've written this email on draft and thought you could just send it, you know, and all that sort of stuff. But then I've been really wound up by people talking about making sort of assumptions about people they don't actually know personally. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So, for example, people going, oh, I think it's wrong and all this, and I'm sort of sitting there going, do you have this person on your telephone? Can you call them? Do you know their family? Are you involved in that family? Because really, you probably have got no business talking about that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I kind of mean? It's just this kind of vacuous thing that we do where we sort of put this news out and intrude on people's lives and then make judgments.
And I think in some ways it's comforting to us who live less than perfect lives that someone who we think has got an advantage in life is having a tough time. I think sometimes there's part of us that goes, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Maybe my life isn't quite as bad, you know, because I'm a good person and they're obviously bad people or whatever it might be. Do you know what? There is a part of that that it is self-soothing in some way, but you've got to decide. You've got to decide whether you can live with yourself, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I will say one thing. My dad was involved in a court case back in the 80s.
Right.
Because I remember Fleet Street from the 80s and stuff when my dad was all doing it. He did nothing wrong, but he could have potentially had to take the stand and stuff like this. And oh man, this is so difficult because I know that you've got a background in journalism as well. I do respect journalism massively. That's why I wouldn't have called up a podcast to talk about Andrew Emery. But there's a huge part of it I absolutely despise, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's true. It's like in any industry, you get people who decide what the rules are for them, you know.
Oh, by the way, just I will say on a lighter note, you know, you and me have one thing in common.
Oh, yeah, what?
we both worked for the BBC at one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you know what? It might happen again. I'll never say never, but...
No, it was work experience, Catherine.
All right, okay. Okay. My work experience, where did I work? I worked at the Warrington Guardian for a bit, for a couple of weeks.
The Warrington Guardian? Because Guardian's from Manchester originally.
Yeah, no, but this is the local newspaper, the Warrington Guardian.
Okay.
And I went to so many brilliant stories from those days. I went to interview a couple. I think it was while I was at the Warrington Guardian, a couple who was celebrating their golden wedding anniversary. And they were so sweet. I went and sat in their living room and they made me a cup of tea and we had this lovely chat about, the secret to a happy marriage and all these things. You don't go to bed on an argument and all that thing. And then she was blind and he was looking after her and it was a really sweet relationship. And then as I left, I saw the hugest marital aid, let's put it that way, you have ever seen. Yeah, on the mantelpiece.
I think. Well, but again, you didn't write about it. Did you?
I didn't write about it. I'm not sure she knew about it. Maybe that was a secret to a long and happy marriage. I don't know. But anyway, it was just things like that would happen. Or there'd be this character when I was at the Warrington Guardian. And after a while, they said, yeah, you don't have to take his phone calls anymore. But he was called... I bet I should check, but... Okay, well, I'm not going to name him, but he used to be a kind of ghost expert, a local ghost expert. But the feeling was that he enjoyed the notoriety more than the truth.
Can I ask you one quick question, right?
Yeah, go on.
Because some of my friends, anyone who knows the Camden New Journal, I've got a couple of people I know that write for it.
Yeah.
Right? And Rainbow George, who, oh God, can I be really honest with you?
Well, are we gonna put up the bat signal?
Characters like George sometimes are indulged in local newspapers, and that's kind of what makes them entertaining. And I think it's a different medium. And what I will say is that where the national papers sometimes look to tear people down, maybe sometimes local papers build people up, but we'll leave it there.
All right, that's an interesting point. Yeah, there are certain people that do come up time and time again on a local level.
They keep being in there and they're picketing about something. And I'm not saying it's not there's an issue, but sometimes I read a local paper and I'm face-palming going...
No, immediately I know, oh God, I can give you so many examples of that from when I used to work in local radio and newspapers, flipping heck.
I think you're right. Listen, Kath, I will call back when I've got some more Elvis recipes.
Okay. Like fried squirrel.
Fried squirrel, baby.
Thanks very much for ringing. 0344 499 1000. I mean, I'm not here for work experience advice, but I'm here for the next 40 minutes. You can use me as you will.
Late night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Except I'm not Iain Lee. I'm Catherine, and we're going to get spooky now because I've got a spooky story to tell you, and I've not read ahead, so hopefully it doesn't get serious at any point because I've set up daft music and all that stuff for you because it's after midnight and this is kind of what we do. But okay, so bear with me. This could go horribly wrong. Here we go. Let's put some of this on. Let's see what happens if I press this. Okay. This is the story about the exorcist's wife. A registered Catholic exorcist and ordained reverend has talked about the first ever paranormal incident he investigated, in which he claims a demon nearly robbed his wife of her life. The Reverend Sean Whittington, who is a registered exorcism deliverance minister based in Las Vegas, told the Beyond Reality podcast, Beyond Reality, i.e. Bullshine, that he regretted ever using a Ouija board following the experience. Telling the harrowing tale, he said, "Unfortunately, the first extremely malevolent case that we came across, I didn't recognize the signs, and so I was very stupid and ignorant as to how to properly use a Ouija board, or even if they should be used. I don't use them or touch them anymore, but we used a Ouija board in this case, and I did a seance, and I believe now that it caused something to come through and attach to us, and it followed us home that night and took up residence in our home for about 8 weeks. There were dire consequences to this spirit or ghost coming through," he said, adding, "If I could do it all over again, I probably wouldn't, because I almost lost my wife because of it. She was the one who was the target of the attack." When asked by the host J.V. Johnson if the attack was physical, Reverend Sean replied, "It was physical. Well, everything, but mostly physical. It left her with... Oh, my God. I'm not going to do the voice anymore because it's got a little bit... And, in fact, very. It left her with 3 very rare forms of cancer. And she didn't drink, didn't smoke. She was the healthiest person I knew. No history of cancer in her family. And right after we got this thing out of the home, her attack, or what was left over of the attack, came on like dam busters. And within just a few days, she developed a very rare form of tongue cancer, thorax cancer and thyroid cancer, which spread through the lymph nodes all through her neck, and she was expected to die. I should at this point out, I'm not taking the mickey out of this woman's cancer at all. What I would suggest is, probably wasn't a ghost what done it. She had a feeding tube for over a year and she wasn't expected to live, so I did a lot of crawling on my hands and knees on my prayer chapel, many nights when she was basically, literally, dying at home. Fortunately, Reverend Sean's wife survived. Phew. And he continued to do his work and also became ordained, as he'd promised God when praying for his wife's life. And that, my friends, apparently is the end of that story. It didn't tell us what came through or anything like that, just... don't mess with the Ouija board. Apparently that's the main takeaway from that. I mean, anyone else slightly disappointed by that? I am sorry, but sometimes I try to surprise myself, you see, by not reading the whole article. And unfortunately, I surprised myself with just how bloody boring that was. Okay, but I'm glad she got better, obvs. If you want to give me a ring, 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Here's another one while we're being macabre. Wife freaked out by husband's disturbing request for after he has passed away. We all have a different idea, says the Daily Star, of what we want to happen with our bodies after we die. But one man whose final wish strays from the more traditional methods has left his wife wanting to cry with his disturbing requests. Oh, blimey. She explains that her husband of 12 years has had medical problems recently, and it led to the couple discussing end-of-life plans. We all do that, don't we? Usually you get a stupid answer. Hello, Paul Ross. After asking if he wanted to be buried or cremated, the man revealed he wanted... Oh, my God, this is something. This is something. I thought he was going to say the usual, just stick me in a bin bag, put me in a skip. No. After asking if he wanted to be buried or cremated, the man revealed he wanted his partner to have his skull taken from his body and cleaned. He wanted... In fact, we can put on the spooky music again, I think. It's absolutely apt. This bloke. He wanted the rest of his remains taken to one of those places that makes gems out of bodies. The gem out of body place. And made into 2 blue diamonds, which he wants placed in the sockets of his skull to look like eyes. Basically, he then wants to be put in the Temple of Doom or something. He's got delusions of grandeur. Just buy yourself a jazzy shirt or something while you're alive. You don't need to wait to be jazzed up when you're dead. Then the whole thing was to be placed on the mantelpiece in the living room to watch the family home and be passed down through generations. Honestly, Grandma, I'm not bothered. You can give it to my sister. After his wife initially assumed he was joking, as you would, he insisted he was dead serious. Brackets, sorry, says the Daily Star. OK, Daily Star, we forgive you. You've said far worse. And even suggested that she did the same so they could sit above the fireplace together. She refused. She told him the whole idea made her feel uncomfortable, and her children would likely feel the same way when they were handed the literal skull of their father. She admitted she would probably never take the skull out of its box, much less have it staring at her from the mantelpiece, and said if it was passed down through the family, the bizarre skull would end up being sold at a garage sale because it meant nothing to the people who inherited it. Can you imagine that turning up on Antiques Roadshow? What do we know about this? Well, it's my mad granddad's. Her husband became upset when she said his skull would remain hidden away, arguing that would be ignoring his final wishes. She said, part of me wants to get over my feelings, but I can't. I want to cry, thinking of someone hacking apart my husband and handing me his bones, and I feel anxiety over the thought of putting that skull with his blue, quote-unquote, eyes in my home until I die. I'm fine if he wants a burial. I'm fine with cremation. Viking funeral, that weird thing when they turn you into a tree, whatever.
I'm even fine with the gems on their own, but this whole skull thing is really bothering me, and he won't budge, and he isn't joking. She revealed she was tempted to cremate him and spread the ashes on the property, but felt the move would be sneaky and dishonest. What's he going to do, haunt you? Writing on Reddit, she asked others for advice on how to handle the situation. Oh, I'm sure they dealt with it sensitively and with great tact and discretion. One replied, so maybe this would be one of those don't ask again, consider his recommendation a non-binding suggestion and do what seems prudent if or when he passes. Well, he will at some point. Another wrote, speaking as someone who lost their dad at 16, which is 11 years now, I can tell you that it would be extremely disturbing to see his skull. Yeah, it would, I can imagine. For some morbid, odd reason, the thought has occurred to me once or twice that by now... Oh, right, we don't want to hear this. Anyway, they go into quite a lot of detail about what happens when you've been dead for a while. Please don't actually do that to their kids. They shouldn't have to see that. It's best if he's immortalised forever in their minds, young and above all whole. Yeah, definitely. I mean... As a wife, sometimes you get crazy requests, but that one is just a crazy request too far, don't you think? 0344 499 1000. I can see we have got a familiar voice, although we never know these days. This man is a man of mystery and a master of disguise. Let's see who's on the phone today. Hello, caller.
Hello?
It's Nigel.
I'm on here.
You're on.
Hello, Catherine.
You're on.
Hello,
I never know which voice you're going to use these days, whether it's going to be Frank Spencer...
I didn't know I was going to get on so quick. Have you finished talking about creepy things?
Yeah, I think we're done now, don't you, Nigel?
Yeah, because I like to be cheerful. Are you able to get my Twitter on your laptop?
I'm able, Nigel, but I don't know whether I should.
Well, I've got one of Mrs. Doubtfire, which is the best thing I've put together. What I said on there was I thought was the most funniest I've done, and it's on my Twitter, Nigel Reader Free.
Okay. Let's have a look. Come on.
Nigel Reader Free, and it's the one that says Mrs. Doubtfire, about the third one down, I believe, after the drumming.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. Can I ask you, before we delve into this, yes. What is it about Mrs. Doubtfire that you like?
Well, no, it was just the voice. I enjoyed the voice of it, because it was something... I sound a bit like one of the Monty Python voices, don't I, they used to use. The one when when they used to put scarves on?
Yeah.
And do that comedy sketch. And that funny voice. So a bit similar to that, I reckon, really.
All right.
So, anyway.
So Mrs.
It's
Doubtfire...
only about 2 minutes long. Can you play it?
2 minutes? It's not got any swears, is it? You don't go blue, does it?
No. Only one... nothing really blue, no.
No blue humour? That's not like you?
Not too much. And one little bit is not too bad, actually. But
all right, okay. Let's
a minute or too long, I think.
Let's have a listen. Let's open this.
I'd like to hear it on the radio.
All right. Let's listen.
Okay.
Okay, so this is... Here we go. Hang on, you're very quiet. Or is that me? Hang on, let's do this up a bit more. Let's go again. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is Nigel... I'm assuming it's you, Nigel. The transformation is almost too good.
I'm the scarf.
Yeah, you got a scarf around your head. Okay,
yeah.
Let's have a listen.
I look a bit silly.
My name is Mrs. Doubtfire. I went shopping today. I got a lot of shopping. I bought cornflakes, bags of tea, milk and sugar.
Is this a true story, Nigel?
Yeah, yes.
You had been to the shops, okay.
Not with a scarf on, though.
No, I should think not.
My name is Mrs. Doubtfire. So, I enjoyed my shopping day today. It was great, yes. I met a lot of people. I said I had a chat with them. Yes. So, my name is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay, the funniest.
Sorry, Nigel?
But near the end is the funniest part, before I finish.
Okay. Well, let's carry on.
Yes.
So, what am I doing tomorrow? I'm going shopping again. I've got lots of shopping to do. So when I'm going on the bus, it costs a lot of money. So I'm going shopping again. My name is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay. Let's fast forward a bit. Because I get... Okay.
It's got nice legs.
Oh, there we go. Is it this bit?
Yeah.
All right.
And Miley Cyrus got nice legs and tits.
Oh, okay. You told me it wasn't blue, Nigel.
No, I thought that was quite funny what I said.
Well, quite funny, quite inappropriate.
It's not rude, is it?
It is a bit.
It is a bit.
It is a bit, yeah.
But it's quite hard to think of, something to say without writing it down, isn't it?
Well, obviously that you were speaking from the heart there, but I don't think Mrs. Doubtfire would notice such things, would she?
No, but it's good that I was talking about what I did during the day.
Yeah.
Put it all together in my head.
Yeah.
Apart from the Mrs. Miley Cyrus's bits and pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Let's leave her bits and pieces alone because she's too young for you.
It's another thing to come out naturally. That when I just come out and say sort of stupid things naturally.
Yeah.
It's me, really.
How's your day been today, Nigel? Talk to me about that.
Apart from that, my dream last morning.
Oh, hang on. Have you moved out of your kitchen?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
You sound wibbly and you sounded fine before.
Quick about my dream I had this morning.
Go on.
I got up at 7 o'clock, I got up at 9 o'clock. I went back to bed, and then when I did go to sleep, I had this funny dream. I went back 20 years and went back to my house, and Mum was in hospital because he was quite ill at the time.
Nigel, I can't hear you. You're breaking up again. Go back to where the signal's good.
Is that better?
So much better.
It's not much better?
It's so much better. You stay there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, go on.
It's my hearing's not. Anyway, so I had this dream about 20 years ago. My Dad was in hospital, Mum was here by herself, and I was wondering about. I said, "Where's Dad?" And she said, "Hospital." And I went into the bedrooms. I didn't know. I said, "I've gone back in time." I said to Mum because I've gone back in time because of course it's not now. And I went into my bedroom. There was all Christmas presents lined up against the wall. And I realised it was Christmas. And I think it's because Mum's not been here for the last 2 Christmases that I've been having these funny dreams. And it was so real that I seem to see Mum visit me in my dreams every time I go to sleep now.
Yeah. But do you know what? Here's the way you should look. Well, don't listen, Nigel. How about you look at it in a different way? Because I have dreams like that about people.
I know it's very nice, but it does actually spoils when you wake up. It spoils the reality.
Yeah, when they're not there.
Everything's so dull.
I know.
I woke up.
I know.
It's like everything's black, like Ian said about some depression you get.
Yeah, I know, but also you're grieving, and it's something.
Yeah, I think I'm still grieving.
Of course you are.
It's on my mind when I go to sleep, and
and of course that's what you dream about. But here's the thing: maybe if you try and change the way you think about it, rather than it being, No, I thought to myself, it's good that I have these dreams. At least I can see her again. Yeah, see it as a little bonus, a bit of a visit.
And then another thing, it might be that she's sort of contacting me from the other side. You don't know, do you?
Who knows? Who knows, Nigel?
I mean, I'd like to believe that her spirit's not gone and she's contacting me and she's still alive.
You know that she would if she could, don't you? So why not? If that helps.
She wanted to die, but she was in so much pain that she couldn't put up the pain.
I know.
I feel so sorry for her because she would have had a few more years if she didn't have the fall in the garden.
I know. It's just sometimes it's not fair. There's no fairness to it.
Life can be cruel, can't it?
It can, but you know what? You had her for all that time. Think about all the wonderful times you had.
Yes.
And you're so lucky. A lot of people don't have their mums for very long. And what a lovely relationship you had, just the two of you.
You too.
And she'd be so proud of you the way you're carrying on.
Yes.
All right, Nigel. So instead of being, don't try not to let yourself get too down when you wake up and it's a dream. See it as a little visit, a little bonus.
Because I wasn't thinking about her when I went to sleep. It just seems to go in.
I think
your brain's still working when you go to sleep.
I think probably when you love and miss someone that much, they're always there in the back of your mind, even if you don't realise you're thinking about them.
Even if you're not thinking about her.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Never mind.
Nigel, you take care of yourself.
Soldier on, as they say.
Exactly. What else can you do?
No, I just have to take it one day at a time.
Exactly. And sometimes 1 hour at a time.
I'm very happy in what I do, looking after myself in the house, and I'm quite happy.
Good.
And going out and meeting friends. And
good.
I've got lots of people I talk to. And,
try and concentrate on making sure you do at least one thing a day that makes you feel happy.
Well, I quite enjoy doing the laptop, Facebook, looking through Facebook and Twitter and stuff.
I know you do.
And that I'm quite, it keeps me occupied. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing wrong with that. Thanks, Nigel.
And listening to Miley Cyrus's music and stuff, and that's interesting. Listening to music.
Always good. Take care, Nigel. I'm going to say good night to you now.
I'll speak to you another night. Bye, Catherine.
No night, Nigel.
Bye-bye.
Let's take a break. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. We've got about 20 minutes left, so if you were going to call, don't hesitate.
Late night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
But spoiler alert, it's not Iain Lee, it's just me. I'm Katherine Boyle. I'm usually here with Iain. Today I am solo, and I will be tomorrow as well. Ian's going to be back on Monday. He's taking a bit of a break. Let's have a quick word with Stephen. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I was just listening to Nigel there, and my mum's passed 8 years now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I've listened to your and Ian's advice when you mention stuff like treat it as a little bonus, when you're dreaming about stuff that's gone on in the past, with your mother.
Yeah.
But God, I'm bloody starving. I've not got to go to the food bank till tomorrow.
Oh man!
And I don't get paid till Monday. And oh God, I think I'm starting to digest my stomach.
God.
It's getting that bad. It's been about a day and a half.
Yeah.
I've never went that long with it. I love food.
When you go to the food, I know it's flipping miles away, but when you go, how much shopping do you get? Do you get enough for a week?
Well, it'll just be Monday, so it'll just be, 2 or 3 days.
Right. And then you've got to go again?
No, because I'll get paid on Monday.
Right, okay.
So it'll be packets of noodles and tins of soup, but I'll have to hike that. It'll probably be a couple of bags, maybe just a bag, 8 or 9 mile up the road,
Oh, man.
But it's got to be done, there's people in worse situations than I'm in.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're not in a bad state of affair. You're sounding really with it.
Compared to, I'd like to apologise, Kat. I remember...
You've got nothing to apologise for, Stephen.
I virtually, sexually assaulted you.
No, you didn't. Don't be daft. No, you didn't.
When I mentioned... what I meant was, you've got a really calming voice. That's all I meant, and I could hear, and I could hear Iain, and I could hear you, and I could hear you cringing. Honestly,
no.
I don't know if that was in my own head or not, but
it was. I thought it was funny. Honestly, I don't mind. And you've heard what people say to me. Flipping heck, I've had some outrageous things. But it's all right. It's all right. You've got nothing to apologise for. I'm just really pleased to hear you sounding so with it. How do we get you through? How do we get you through the next however many hours? Are you going to bed now?
I might have a cup of coffee is a bad idea.
It probably is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And what time can you get in the food bank?
Between 2 and 4.
Oh, blimey, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. Aye. But
can I buy you a pizza or something?
Oh, you're joking, aren't you?
I'm not joking.
Oh, that would be something else. That would be.
What do you fancy? What do you not like, and what's your favourite?
Oh, pepperoni.
All right.
Pepperoni with loads of cheese.
All right. Okay. Let me try and sort that out. If I pass you back to Sam and he takes your address, I'll sort you out with something if I can. I'd really like to.
Kat, you're a saint.
Nah, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just like pizza. I'll pass you back. All right.
Right, okay.
Right, take care of yourself, Stephen. 0344 499 1000. When we get that, I'll send him something because that's a long time, innit? That is a long time. This I thought was interesting, considering we bang on about kind of geeky gaming and stuff like that. This is actually an application for virtual reality that isn't, I don't know, pornography based or to do with little blokes jumping on tortoises and stuff. A specialist care facility in England is using virtual reality headsets and data mining to help children with autism to acclimatise to scenarios they're likely to encounter outside of school. Staff at Priors Court, which is located in Berkshire, hope the high-tech approach helps students adapt to the real world and enjoy new experiences such as virtual skiing or deep-sea diving. Okay, but I mean... okay. People with autism may find unfamiliar situations stressful. Okay, I get it then. I was going to say, maybe something more usual might be more... something more mundane might be more helpful to someone with autism, but actually I'm talking balls because it's about change and variety, I suppose. People with autism may find unfamiliar situations stressful. The VR scenarios introduce children to situations like visiting a shopping mall or getting on an aircraft without leaving the comfort and safety of their classroom. Our young people, they have difficulties with sensory issues, so they can find it overwhelming going to a very busy place or transitioning to a new place, Nuno Guerrero, computing teacher at Priors Court School, told Reuters. They like what is familiar, they like their routine, so the VR sets allow them to experience new realities and probably help them transition when they have to face a new place. Priors Court cares for around 95 young people at the severe end of the autism spectrum, including many who are non-verbal and unable to communicate their needs. The charity is also hoping big data can help. They're trialling a new data collection system called Prior Insight that will gather a detailed picture of each young person's day, including what they've eaten, how much exercise they've had, and how they're behaving. That information looks at things like incidents, seizure activity, food and drink input, toiletry input, personal care, any activities they've done and any sleep data, project leader Elaine Hudgell said. We're hoping to not only increase our knowledge and awareness about the world of young people with autism at Priors Court, but we're also hoping to be able in time to share that with the wider world. Hudgell added, Isn't that brilliant? I mean, something that was developed, let's face it, probably to be a toy, maybe to be useful in, I don't know, they talk about using it in medicine and stuff, don't they, virtual reality, and so you can get expertise across distances that they wouldn't be able to do physically, but that's fantastic. I have a family member who's got a son with autism, and I remember the years of knowing there was something different about him for her, and the relief when she finally got that diagnosis that now they knew kind of, because everyone's different with autism, as you know, kind of what you were dealing with and some of the strategies that might be necessary to help him to sort of cope with everyday life and all that. And he's come on brilliantly. I don't think he's not massively verbal yet, but he's able to make himself a lot more understood, and as he's getting bigger, that's so important. But anything like this is fantastic. Virtual reality. Right, I want to... I've got a few minutes, haven't I, before Daryl comes in. I want to order that pizza. And actually, my stomach's rumbling as well. Have you got... Let's sort that out. I'm assuming they'll have somewhere nearby that'll still deliver. I know it's stupid o'clock. Let's have a look. There's a point. All right, I might do it after, because I've got a couple of minutes. It's not going to... Forgive me, Stephen, it's not going to make that much difference, is it, if I just hang on a couple of secs? 0344 499 1000 if you want to get your phone call in before Daryl comes in, because you know what he's like when he starts going. We've also got, you can tweet at Talk Radio, you can tweet at Flipping Cat, that's me, or you can text 87222, start your text with the word talk, and that text will cost you 25p plus your standard network charge. Daryl Morris is coming up next, and he'll take your calls as well. He likes a good chat, and it can be a lonely old time of the night. Hey, Steve.
Hello, Kat. How are you doing?
I'm all right. What's going on with you, Steve?
Oh, God. I'm just having one of these nights where... Do you know when you get one of these nights where you just think that you lost everybody, and you want to, destroy yourself?
Oh, Steve. Has something happened today?
I met up with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And his daughter, and she's like in her 20s and 30s. And, I don't know, I'm just in a complete mess.
Right, and it's making you feel a bit...
Yeah.
Can I make two suggestions? Have you been drinking tonight, Steve?
I a bit, Kathy.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's not going to make you feel any better. And
no.
So I would suggest you go to bed. But if you're feeling like you're going to hurt yourself, please don't. And I would suggest you ring the Samaritans, because I'm about to go, and I want to make sure someone hears you out.
Kath, is that I'm really hungry.
Yeah.
And I know I've spoken to Ian a few times. He brought me a pizza.
Did he?
Once or twice. And, I've got no money. I've got no food. I'm on the dole on that, and I don't know what to do.
Right.
I know Ian's brought me a pizza once or twice before.
I know he has.
Oh,
Steve, let me... Have you got a pen?
I've got a pen, yeah.
All right. Here we go. I want you to ring this number. Okay.
Let me get my pen.
Here we go.
No, hang on a second. I can't find the pen. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, still there. All right, I've got my pen.
You got something? Right. Scribble this down and give them a ring, because they will listen. 116.
116.
And then 123.
123.
Have a word with them. Then get your head on the pillow, and I promise you tomorrow morning you'll feel a bit better.
I feel better with some food in my tummy.
I know you would. Are you going to get... What's the situation with you, food bank-wise?
Nothing until I need to go to the food bank.
Yeah.
Probably Monday. So I've got no food. Really, I've got like bits of pasta and stuff. That's why I was like going to ring up to say, because I know Ian got me a pizza.
Yeah, I know he did.
Again, I know you can't.
I can't do it for everyone. Here's the thing, Steve, and I'm worried that this is the third time?
Second? It's been the second time.
All right, maybe the second time. But obviously it's something that keeps happening. Tell you what, give the Samaritans a call, have a sleep, and maybe give us a ring tomorrow when you're not drunk. All right. Okay, I'm going to have to go, Steve. I'm going to have to go, but thank you for giving us a ring. But here's the thing. Let's talk about it tomorrow when we can have a decent conversation. If anyone else is out there and you need someone to talk to, 116 123 is the number for Samaritans, and they're just flipping brilliant. Here's Daryl Morris.
Hello there, Kath. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm very, very well. I'm well, I think. Yeah, I'm all right. Tired, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm all right.
Isn't it funny doing this shift? You start to go into a bit of a fug.
I'm probably at a bit of a point, and I don't want to go on about this because I think people get a bit bored of it, don't they? But I'm at a point now where it's the end of the week. I slept too much today.
Uh-huh.
I slept from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. which is 12 hours.
Yeah.
12 hours of sleep. But I needed it, when you really need it. And I don't really know where I am. I've not really got my footing in the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the day.
What you mean.
No, I'm not only am I, because if you wake up at like 3, 4 o'clock, you're catching up.
Yeah.
But you can catch up, and you're usually caught up within half an hour. You've checked the news, and you've checked your phone, and your girlfriend's all right. Everybody's still alive. You sort of, everything's okay.
Yeah.
And then, and you can kind of get into it.
But at this point, you're still chasing the day.
Yeah, right. The day's done. It's already done. It's already over. And I can't get into it. I can't get my footing in it. Anyway, there you go. That's
But that's by the by, because now we are here. You've got till 58:20 to sell your show, my friend. Yeah,
that's loads of time. Are you? No, that's just loads. I don't even know what to tell you, to tell you the truth. In that period of time, Elton Moon is here.
Oh yeah.
Who owns the pubs? Do you know Elton Mooner?
Yes, I recognise that face.
He's a great guy. He owns pubs, so he's always good for it. He always brings samples of things.
Okay, of course he does. It'd be rude not to, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's why we keep inviting him back.
Although that is a big cool box.
But it is, yeah. So he's going to be here. We're going to see if we can tell the difference between some alcoholic drinks and non-alcoholic drinks.
Yeah.
Also, CBD drinks are apparently on the rise as well.
Yeah, I bet.
Because CBD is becoming a very popular thing, isn't it? You know, a way of kind of keeping. It's a great calming thing, isn't it? I think I don't know a lot about CBD.
Apparently so. People that love it swear by it, don't they?
A little bit, I guess. Yeah, clutching at straws a bit. America, we're going to there as well. Chinese New Year. Happy Chinese New Year to you.
Yeah, how do you say it? Is it Gung Hai Fat Choi?
Gung Hai Fat Choi. I guess so. I just copied what you said there. I've got no idea.
It's probably something very rude. Apologies to all out.
Really badly. We're also going to be finding out more about this really strange story about Jeff Bezos being hacked and how you can not let that happen to you. We're going to speak to the Sun's tech person to find out how not to be Jeff Bezos.
Incredible, because that is something pretty creepy. Anyway, this all sounds brilliant. Thank you very much for keeping me company tonight. Stay tuned for Darren Morris, because he's absolutely brilliant.
Talk Radio.